How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Still.
The Corpse of Fenurian.
And Volatile, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week. Unlike previous couple weeks, there's actually been some stuff that has happened, and we also have, an intact Fern.
Somewhat.
Like, intact on the physical plane,
yes.
At any rate. Like, his entire body is here.
If somebody can check the astral plane for where he went, that'd be helpful.
You don't want to look at me on the astral plane. That would be horrific.
Yeah. How about we don't do that?
I'm back because I cannot trust these two alone for 5 minutes, because if I do, they're going to talk about boobs. Oh, wait.
The news was all boobs last week. I don't know what you want from us.
Yeah, we did our best.
Yeah, it was pretty much all boobs. And it continues to be boobs this week.
And we saved the non-boob stuff so we could put it all behind us. In case this was a dry week. No.
Yeah, I know. There's a bad pun coming there, and I just had to grab it.
Oh, dear.
There's another one there, but let's just move on, shall we?
Yes, let's.
All right.
At any rate, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord chat server, which you can most easily access by going to vtwproductions.com and clicking on our show logo on any of our recent show posts. It should take you directly to our Discord server, where you can post and argue about boobies, presumably, since that seems to be the topic of the day.
It's always the topic.
This is just a phase we're going through. I'm sure we'll exit it eventually. Probably around the time Sony stops its boneheaded censorship campaign.
Maybe. Alright. On the stream today, I'll be playing a little bit of Stellaris, which I dusted off at some point, in which I could play in 5-minute bursts. I actually managed to complete a full game a couple of weeks ago. So, yep. It's a 4X strategy game. That's not an easy thing to do.
I see.
To actually reach the end of the game and win is even less common, I guess.
What does win even look like in a 4X game?
Well, in the case of that playthrough, I was playing as an omnicidal AI. So, a victory in that condition... Yeah. There was no life left anywhere, just the machine.
Fabulous.
So I'm going to fire up a new game. I'm not going to go with a Gestalt intelligence this time around, because in some ways it's cheating, in other ways it's a real handicap. Like, you don't need to worry about, rebellions or things like that on your own planets, because nobody has any free will. But diplomacy is no longer an option. Like, everyone just hates you.
Well, it's not really a lot to like.
Well, it's a machine that's coming along and openly admits to wanting to destroy your face for existing.
How dare you?
Let's play as a race of...
cat people.
Chipmunks.
Actually, I think there is a chipmunky one. Let's see. Mammalians. There's kind of a sloth-looking thing, or a platypus.
You're Australian, you have to play the platypus race.
Okay, I'll play as the platypus race. It doesn't really... Appearances really don't make a whole lot of difference. It's all in your civics and your government ethics.
Of all the creatures which are obviously God making a joke,
it's the platypus. And just to rub it in, made it venomous.
Well, it's in Australia, it has to be, or it would never survive.
True that. Ooh. And they can have Roman names. Perfect. Alright, so we'll see how this goes. As far as what I've actually been doing over the last couple of weeks, in terms of anime, I've been keeping up with watching the Slime Isekai, which continues to be isekai trash, but is still thoroughly enjoyable.
I thought that the end of the most recent episode had a pretty sort of heavy emotional tone to it.
It did, surprisingly.
I was completely blindsided by that. I don't know if we'll see much of those guys ever again, but it was surprisingly weighty, considering how ridiculous and slapstick everything else had been.
Yeah, and then you remember that they completely forgot about Gobta.
Yeah, but, I mean, what do we need him for anyway?
Yeah, he he didn't even evolve when everybody else did. It's kind of weird. So yeah, it's a silly, goofy anime with a tsundere dragon for some reason, but it's still surprisingly enjoyable. And every now and again, it does hit that emotional high point. It's there is some interesting stuff that's starting to do other things in the this season, but that one just, I don't know. I just like that one more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good enough reason.
Yeah, I don't have high expectations from it or anything, but it's nice sort of junk food.
It is. It is. There's also that Taiwanese puppet one. I forget what it's called that I've been meaning to check out since its first season.
Yeah, Thunderbolt Fantasy or something like that.
Something like that. It's like
Thunderbirds. Yeah, I've heard very good reports about it. I mean, well, you say Thunderbird's gone shonen, but that particular style, that particular puppetry style, has been maintained outside the West.
Yes,
it's not used in the West since Thunderbirds, if you don't count Team America. But
no, well, you shouldn't.
Even then, Team America's not exactly on the tier of Thunderbolt Fantasy or whatever.
No, but I think that the point wasn't to be any good though. But
no, it was deliberately bad.
But yeah, in the case of that particular title, I've been meaning to check it out as well. And apparently, one of the characters is voice acted by Shuten Doji's voice actress.
Oh, good grief! So yeah, I'll check that out at some point, time allowing, as well as.
It's not going to, is it?
Time allowing, probably not. There's also the. It's not a mecha anime. It's in the same vein as Godzilla. I've been meaning to check that one out.
There is a name. There is a name for it, but I can't remember what it is. It's sort of halfway between a kaiju story and a Sentai story.
Yeah, I have to look it up now.
Oh, that one. I remember people talking about it.
Yeah.
Wasn't the puppet? Aren't the puppet ones written by Gen Urobuchi?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, so you know everything's going to go horribleness there.
He's really softened up lately.
I think that that's to his benefit if you are looking at mass appeal.
Somebody's
because
people high quality booze.
People who aren't Aristeel really don't want to live on the emotional tier of everything being crap forever all the time. Yeah. Sometimes they want at least to manage bittersweet.
No. Graduated from the school of Jimco. Despair everywhere.
And despair all the time, always.
All day, every day.
Yeah. I believe this is it. Gridman.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've kept up with that one.
So it looks good.
A lot of its popularity stems from the fact that it looks good. Largely because the female characters are very popular.
Yeah. And it's done by Studio Trigger, so you know it's going to look good too.
Save an anime. Again.
Yeah, Studio Trigger does animation really well, particularly... Oh god, we're going there already, aren't we? Yeah.
And furthermore, they don't take as long as UFO Table does.
Yeah, I actually, on a whim, watched through all of Today's Menu with Emiya Family. Just on a whim. It doesn't take all that long. All the episodes are very short.
No.
And it's done by UFO Table, and it's very, very pretty fluff.
In fact, it is almost visibly fluffy.
It is incredibly fluffy. Disturbingly so when Caster turns up.
Well, that's always been... like, if you read the character material book for the original Fate Stay Night, when Nasu and his artist, what's his name, Takeuchi, are talking about Caster, they say that basically what they ended up telling was the only like real pure love story in Fate. That's not like, weighed down by a pile of other things, and she never gets a happy end in Fate Stay Night. But the idea was that she was basically sort of like a reverse Ilya in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's evil on the outside, but she's just fluffy on the inside.
Yeah, but she's trying to romance somebody who has all the emotional receptiveness of a block of wood.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's not to say he doesn't.
To her, well, he's got a backstory as well that's not told in any of the primary material.
Yeah,
like he was part of a cult, an
yeah,
assassin cult, and they were trained from birth basically to go out, kill the target they were commanded, and then kill themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically went against the grain and became a hunted man.
Yep.
But he just had like one moment of a crisis of faith, and it sort of destabilized his conditioning, and then he sort of left. But he had been, a dyed-in-the-wool killer. So,
so yeah.
Yeah, so he's got a backstory. They don't really tell it. So it's basically two completely distorted and broken people who fix each other is meant to be the story.
Mm-hmm. By trying to murder everybody.
Yeah, they try and in the latest Unlimited Blade Works adaptation, they actually add new scenes to try and flesh it out a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that despite her having committed probably the most evil during life of any of the servants, Medea's probably the one who would have been most willing to manage a peaceful solution at the end if she believed that it would get her what she wanted.
She would have, I think.
Because she didn't really want anything except a life better than the crappy one she had before.
Mm-hmm.
Jason was a douchewaffle.
Let's see, what kind
That's true.
Yeah. Back to Stellaris for a moment. What kind of government should I make these platypi? I could make them
communists.
Make them what? Communists?
Meritocratic Republic.
Xenophobe, materialistic. There we go. That's
so
you mean
the
Japan?
South?
Yeah. Oh, and dictatorial government style. There we go. Totalitarian regime. Perfect.
Of platypi.
Okay. We went from Japan to Russia. Okay.
Yeah. And possibly straight to Cuba. So the other anime I've been poking away at is one I've been meaning to look at for a while because I just wanted some generic shonen nonsense, and that is Hunter x Hunter. And it's exactly that. It's generic shonen nonsense.
It's a big name, generic shonen nonsense, and it's been around a long time, but for some reason it never really broke into the big leagues.
Yeah, it never got quite the same degree of success as the big names.
It's like the biggest of the cult shonen shows, though. Like, of the ones that still have a small following, it's the biggest.
Yep.
By far.
Well, because all the other ones ended.
Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Except One Piece.
And Dragon Ball.
Well, Dragon Ball ended
Dragon Ball.
for a long time.
Well, yeah.
And now it's ended again.
Yeah.
They ended Super, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they
done as far as we know. There's been no announcements or official confirmations on any new stuff.
Perfect. Post-apocalyptic platypi. Now we're talking. Sorry.
That's what the world really needs.
Yes. So yeah, it's fun. It doesn't at this point in the anime. It's taken about 30 episodes for them to introduce their power system in the anime, which is a bit of a long wait, to say it nicely.
So yeah, that was my biggest stopper with Hunter x Hunter. It wasn't the dub. They keep saying they're going to put a dub out for it, and that would make the slow start way more bearable. And there's another arc that's even slower in how much it crawls.
Yeah,
They go inside a video game or something.
Is there a tournament arc?
There is.
Is there 3 tournament arcs?
Well,
They play with it. It's
They
not
do.
a proper tournament arc. It's not like not Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament or even like the sports festival thing in Hiroaka. It's like the protags go to the tournament, but they are ridiculously outmatched. They learn and get better at the tournament, but it's a learning experience for them. They lose all their big matches.
That's what I suppose passes for the second tournament arc. The first tournament arc is actually at the end of the Hunter exam, where it's primary protag Gon gets up and he has his match, and he's unconscious. So let's just skip the rest of it.
Yeah, the rules of that tournament arc were set up wonky to make it subvert the trope as well.
Yeah, was deliberately wonky.
Yeah, I think the tournament rule was like you can keep fighting forever. There's no DQs or knockouts as long as you don't give up.
Yeah.
And they played with how characters approach that from a mental standpoint to try and make the other dude quit. And if you win a round, you pass the exam that it's a part of. So everybody that gives up moves up to the next round and has to fight somebody else.
Yeah.
So it twists the tournament. Both of their major tournaments and what I've seen in the series have messed with the tournament arc structure quite a bit.
Yeah. So it's enjoyable. A lot of the characters are enjoyable. Gon, and though he seems to be overpowered just to be overpowered, there doesn't seem to be really any reason at this point.
I've heard that fan opinions of him are exceedingly low, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Like they just see him as kind of a tool, and that it doesn't really serve any purpose other than to be him.
Yeah.
He the writer seems to have realized that and nerfed him hard. I haven't actually seen a protag get nerfed as hard as Gon does later in the series. Like, he just takes the nerf bat to him.
That's
like, we're talking Peter Petrelli from Heroes level of nerf.
Oh my.
If y'all watch that series.
It's a few years old now.
A decade and some change.
Good grief, now you're making us feel ancient. Why?
I never watched it.
Save the cheerleader, save the world.
Yeah, that was the plot.
Yeah.
I saw the obnoxious adverts on television, but I never watched it.
Yeah, the ads actually did get rather obnoxious, that's true. Because they tried to say, here's something cool happening, but we're not spoiling everything.
I remember in season 3 when after the writer's strike completely destroyed that show. They had a good thing going for the first season. And then the writer's strike happened. And they basically had half of a season 2, and Heroes just fell apart. And in season 3, they started turning characters into lesbians to try and scrap any viewers they could get.
It's like they tried to scrabble to rebuild the show and just failed on every count. It's a shame. It was a show with such good promise. But anyway, I'm going to keep poking away at Hunter x Hunter because it's something you can just pick up, watch an episode or two, and then put down again.
Yeah, I really, really wish they would actually follow through on that promise of a dub.
So how long of a runner is it?
Yeah, it's 140 episodes.
Ugh.
I believe it has actually ended.
Well, they have a whole nother continent to do stuff on, but the writer's the same guy that wrote Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah.
And he is rather infamous for when he don't want to write anymore, he writes the Three Kings arc and takes a break.
I did watch a little bit of Yu Yu Hakusho a couple of months back, and it starts off kind of sluggish.
Yeah, like, you know how Toriyama just decided he would just keep muscling through the Boo arc, even though he didn't really want to do it for DBZ. Yeah, dude that writes Yu Yu Hakusho don't do that. Yeah. He will deliberately bomb the series or put it on indefinite hiatus if he doesn't want to work on it anymore.
Yeah, if you're going to go watch the full run of Yu Yu Hakusho, stop before the last arc.
Yeah, just stop at Chapter Black. Stop at Chapter Black. It's a perfect ending point for the series anyway. He should have just called it there. Yeah. And I think he knew that too. He wrote it to be the end of the series.
Nope, they wanted to squeeze one more season out of it. As far as games go, I did pick up the big one. I wasn't going to get Grand Theft Horse 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, straight away, but because I was going to hold out for Fallout 76. But oh dear, oh dear,
oh dear, what?
Fallout 76 just.
It's a catastrophe.
That
yeah,
right, okay.
That's the oh dear. Every report has been pretty horrific. Like, there's a solid game there by all reports, and the gameplay itself, the gameplay loop, is fun, but it lacks story. And the world without any NPCs running around in it feels kind of, well, more dead than it probably should.
And even for an alpha, the technical problems are hilarious.
Spectacular. Yeah. You go to launch it, and it deletes itself from your computer.
Yes. So that's
failed on a level that is unprecedented.
If you've done any kind of directory fudgy at all, even casual, just like install shell crap, it'll delete itself.
Yeah, yeah. So that one's going on the back burner until a little bit after launch. I'm not sure what I expected from Bethesda, honestly. I really should have seen it coming.
That one is not getting bought by me unless it's used and in my local store where I can buy a physical copy.
I don't intend to buy it, period, because if you don't buy it on launch, there'll be nobody playing, and if you do buy it on launch, it won't work. So,
yeah,
there's no reason to ever buy that game at any point.
It's going to get you coming or going. So I picked up Grand Theft Horse because at least when that screws up, the bugs are more hilarious than anything else.
More like Grand Theft Scrotum.
Grand Theft Scrotum, yeah.
Grand Theft Cowboys.
Yeah, they thought it was necessary to be incredibly detailed about just about everything, and that includes their horses. Which means they have fully animated scrotums. Enjoy.
You know, as somebody that lives literally next door to a horse ranch, I suppose I can appreciate the realism.
There was somebody who thought that it was important that they have fully articulated, anatomically correct horse scrotums on each horse.
Which they half-assed because when horses are running, their scrotums retract. Otherwise, you'd end up with some very funny running horses.
Yeah, have you? There's a reason you don't see horses reenacting scenes from what's that Conan MMO?
Yeah, Conan anything
at jockey matches or hang on, I'm distracted by something. People are trying to talk to me while I'm trying to do the show, and they shouldn't do that.
Yeah, so horses cannot run when they're cross-eyed. Let's just say that.
If you go to a horse race and you place your bets, you're not placing bets on floppy Conan MMO dongs.
The thing is that was somebody's job, you know.
To animate horse scrotums, yes.
This is your project, and these are the specifications.
like, okay, Jeff, the art team's come back with the new models they need made. All right, cool. What am I doing today? Horses. Oh, that's cool. I've been working on my animal anatomy. What we doing?
Scrotum.
Now, this is very important. You need to make a dong that is half erect at all times and horse-sized. That is flopping all over the place.
Why?
But my animal anatomy. No. They specifically asked for this, and we're going to give it to them. Dang it.
Thankfully, the dong is not flopping around. But
this is what.
Good grief! How did we get here?
This is totally a thing where like Jimmy didn't give Jeff a good gift at the company Christmas party or something.
So the game itself is incredibly, really, really good. It's really fun. There's a lot to do, and just some of the missions are absolutely hilarious. Like you and one of your posse members goes out on an absolute bender, and the thing is done mostly from your character's perspective. So things go wrong when your character is absolutely blitzed off their face on really poor quality booze. Especially when you start to see all the courtesans wandering around with your friend's face.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's kind of worrying.
It reminds me of the talking horse quest from Witcher 3.
Poor Roach. Geralt was weird. It doesn't matter what horse he had, he just called it Roach. All the time.
I can respect that. The Jeff naming convention.
The Jeff naming convention, yes.
Yep.
But, so the game is fun. There's a lot to do in it, and the gameplay feels pretty good for the most part. But I think their attention to detail kind of gets in the way of things a lot. Like your horse.
You don't like the scrotums.
Aside from horse scrotums, your horse cannot hear you whistle for it if you're too far away. Which normally is not too much of a problem. You just run back to your horse or borrow another horse or whatever. Except your main horse will borrow in the Grand Theft Auto fashion. So steal it and drive it off a cliff, which I have done. But
you drive a horse off a cliff.
Yes. That's just what you do in these games. It's just what you do.
What did ever do to you?
Obey the law of gravity, as it turned out.
Don't be mean to horses, kids.
Yeah, don't be mean to horses.
Have you seen the Penny Arcade cartoon?
No.
People are incredibly rude to you in that game, yes. So, yeah, the problem with that is your main saddle has all your gear on it. Like, you can only take one weapon per slot. So a handgun, a shoulder holstered weapon, a back holstered weapon, and, maybe a couple of other little bits and pieces. If you want to swap your weapons, you need to go back to your horse. Which, again, not too big a problem, but sometimes it will just arbitrarily take all your weapons off you and leave you with just your handgun or your sidearm. Like when you go into a town or into a shop or something like that. So you need to go back to your horse and rearm yourself before you go and do anything else. So that loop gets incredibly annoying very, very, very quickly.
I see? Question mark?
I'm not
I don't really get it. Are these scripted event things that like happen just sometimes?
Just sometimes, yeah. It depends on what you're doing. Like every time you go back to your main camp, you can't draw a weapon in there. So it immediately dumps all your weapons back onto your horse. It also does it random at certain points in towns. Like I think if you walk into a shop, it'll keep some of it, but not all of it. And depends on the shop. So
who would do this?
Depending on the mission as well, like you go into a cutscene and it dumps it there too. I'm not sure why they do this. It's a really annoying loop. I'd like to just pick up my gear and just hang on to it until I decide I want to swap it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one that
I've put
the
Penny Arcade comic in the live show chat channel.
Thank you, sir. The other bit that really annoys me is the tracking of animals, which takes forever. So you track by you press both your stick buttons, so L3, R3 at the same time, which will give you a trail, which you need to follow, and that trail can be really long. And at no point can you really run along it, because if you happen to be close to the animal, there is no indication of how close to it you actually are. You could startle it, meaning it runs away.
And you start again.
And you got to start again. Which means also, when you do find the animal, the animal will be of a certain quality. Again, no telling what quality the animal is. So when you kill it and skin it, you'll get a quality of skin depending on both the base quality of the animal and how much damage you had to do in order to bring it down. So things like you take a headshot on a perfect animal, you'll get a perfect skin. Anything other than a perfect animal is pretty much worthless. So you're going to potentially be wasting a whole lot of time for absolutely zero gain.
This doesn't sound fun.
No.
I'd rather steal somebody's horse.
Yeah. So why would
it's an open world game. There's going to be these grindy bits in it, so that's kind of expected. But I assume they're all optional.
For the most part, the hunting is optional. Yes. The irritating inventory management is not. Hopefully they'll patch that. There are rare animals and elite animals, or what do they call them, legendary animals out in the world, which you can go out, hunt, get absolutely mauled by a bear, and yet stand up again, even though there's massive grooves in your character. Don't ask me how that happened. Video game logic.
This.
Video game logic.
Regenerating health.
Yeah, that's also a thing. So aside from those quibbles, though, it's a great game. There's a whole lot to do. The world is incredibly detailed and pretty. You may find yourself really tempted to punch somebody in the face just because. I do have an annoying habit of accidentally pressing R2 instead of L2, which means instead of talking to someone in a civil manner, my character just immediately pulls his handgun out and shoots them in the face.
That's the West. You can do that, can't you?
Well, people do still kind of get upset by it. But then you just steal a horse and run off into the wilderness for a while and they eventually forget about it. Unless somebody gets a clear look at your face, in which case you get a bounty on you. So good luck with that. Get a high enough bounty, you get a posse after you.
Good old Elder Scrolls bounty system right there.
Yeah. So it is good fun. And there is just a stupid amount of content in this game. I've barely even scratched the surface on it, honestly. So we'll see how it pans out over the next few weeks.
I have intentionally avoided this game because my boss / uncle / the Freedom Opossum is the biggest Red Dead junkie I know. He's talked about it all week in the office, and I am sick to death of it. I go to see if he needs anything on the way out, and he tries to start a conversation about Red Dead.
Oh dear. I suppose you could take the Red Dead approach to it. Shoot him in the face and steal his horse. I mean, that
My
seems to
guns
work
are
in
still
this
in his
game.
closet. My guns are actually still in his closet, so I can't do that.
Ah,
He wanted to collect all the guns in one place to make it look like he had more guns, so he could post it on Twitter.
because Murica.
Yeah, so he borrowed my guns, my dad's guns, and the neighbor's guns, and posted them and stacked them all up inside of a closet and took a picture of it to make it look like he had a small armory, so he could post it on Twitter.
And he's just never given you your guns back.
I haven't bothered to go back and get them. He'd give them back to me, but I'm not going shooting anytime soon.
Meh. So yeah, great game. I'm going to interested to see if they fix any of the issues over the next few weeks. I haven't noticed any of the legendary type bugs you've seen in the first Red Dead. Like, no people just suddenly randomly decide that they're actually birds and flying away. I mean, quite literally, they kind of put their hands or arms to their side, flap their hands, and fly away. The Manimals bug.
That was a model replacement bug that happened in the original game, I think.
Yes.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. The birds are the most hilarious. But then from there they become disturbing. Like when because whenever it swapped out a model, it would swap it out for a randomly generated human. Which got really surreal. So people flying around, flapping their arms and pretending to be birds is hilarious. People with elongated faces, arms and legs pretending to be a horse is disturbing. Very disturbing.
Nobody debugs anything anymore, do they?
I don't know. If they found that bug in development, I wonder if they just left it in because it's hilarious.
I might.
I'd be tempted to.
I would ask this funny enough to make a meme out of?
Yes. Definitely yes.
If yes, we're keeping it.
Yeah. Like the Skyrim bucket on head bug. They left in deliberately. I swear they had to leave that one in.
I think
No, that's a procedural bug.
Yeah, it is.
Based on them trying to be overly realistic about lines of sight.
Yeah.
A model swapping bug is a bug.
That's a bug.
The bucket is you exploiting the systems in the environment.
Yeah. They could have patched it. They didn't.
Bethesda never patches anything.
Yeah.
Like, the re-releases of Skyrim that have been coming out have all the exact same bugs that their predecessors did.
Yeah. That's not the bucket on head. These are the actual game-breaking things.
Yarp.
Yeah, good times, Bethesda. QA, it's a thing that you need to do.
Yeah, and you should probably pick up the one where it deletes the game from your hard drive.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they missed that one. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
What I find really annoying is they're doing the beta tests at the moment between the PC version and the Xbox One version. But it's something like 3 or 4 hours per beta test, and that's it.
That's not a beta, that's an advertisement.
That's a marketing exercise, yes.
At best, it's a server stress test. It's not a beta.
Yeah.
A server stress test sounds very likely because of the fact that it forces everybody to try and get on at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. So yeah, I wanted to be excited about Fallout 76, but they're making it hard, really hard.
It's not your fault, man.
Just Bethesda, stop. You did everything right with Doom. Why can't you do it again? Anyway, that's my week, I guess. Volso, what have you been doing? Aside from mooching off my luck.
Yeah. Mooching off your luck. Well, I would like to say that I was mooching off your luck, but I don't have any evidence of that because I haven't managed to actually experience any luck.
No.
But yeah, so I had a busy week, so I didn't get much playing of anything done during the week. But I did my usual bit of FGO, got my Bravela's all 5 copies maxed out at level 80.
Nice.
And so on, which has been hacks for farming, thank goodness, because I have to farm a lot because I don't have any any CEs to increase my drop rate, but I haven't been able to get any CEs to drop. So yeah, it's generally been rough and frustrating in the sense that most most grindy things tend to be.
Yes.
But yeah, there's not really much happening in there at the moment, and because the event is sort of winding down, there's a few more days left, and the main objective right now is to just try and get as many tokens as possible to get as many things out of the shop as possible. For people like me who didn't invest in the gacha, clearing out the shop is basically an irrational thing to attempt. So I'm just going to try and harvest as much stuff as possible and then buy the things that I really want from the event shop. And then there's not really any significant events after that until Christmas, where we will presumably have the 2 Christmas events back to back, like we had the 2 Halloween events back to back. And the Christmas events are usually lotteries, so it's a good time to stock up, because Christmas events are lotteries that have a lot of low rarity stuff in them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have skill gems, which are a nuisance to farm because you need a lot of them.
Yes.
And so they're one of the things that, like, the AP rate on skill gems is not bad for farming skill gems, but the sheer amount of time required to keep loading up those stages over and over again to try and get skill gems makes it time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
But so the Christmas lotteries are a good opportunity to build up stock of that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there's not going to be much else significant happening in between those that I'm aware of. There's probably like a couple of little events of various kinds. There might be a Thanksgiving GSSR or something, because I think there has been in the past for the North American server, and I'll probably be suckered into throwing more money at that. But yeah, so that's going to quiet down for a while. I'll be able to go back to starting to make some more progress on the storyline, which I left it in. And it's sort of like just before the climax of the story. So I'm looking forward to getting back to it and finding out what's going to happen.
They took all the silly out of Camelot. You're on a noble quest to put the silly back.
Yep, that's basically it. Like, Camelot is a silly place, is pretty much the way Camelot works in the Fate setting, but the Singularity is not silly at all. The Singularity is incredibly grim. So yeah, what else? So my copy of Warriors Orochi arrived. I didn't have any time to play any of it until yesterday, but I got to have a go at it. And what I was interested in looking at was, because we talked about it last week, how there was supposedly censorship where they removed the boob physics from the PS4 and Xbox One versions of Warriors Orochi. So I had to carefully inspect the character's boobs to find out.
I'm sure you found that an absolute chore.
So it seems that what has been done when placed under careful and extensive inspection is they haven't removed the boob physics per se. They have heavily suppressed the boob physics in the gallery mode and in the sort of the waiting to sortie screen. Because there's a sort of a hot slightly a couple of times on the spot idle animation for one of the characters, usually the one standing in the front rank, on that screen. And if that character happens to be well endowed in the Switch version, there's a lot of movement.
They can lose an eye with that movement.
But in the PS4 version, there is very little movement. If you look very carefully, you can see that there actually is some. And similarly applies to the gallery mode, in that if you flail the character around wildly, you can see a little bit of movement there. So it hasn't been suppressed all the way to the point where it would look really unnatural, because their boobs are stock still all the time. But it has been very, very heavily suppressed.
Yeah. The PC
by contrast,
at least seems to be kind of natural-ish.
The strange thing is that while they have done that, if you are in combat and you use a Musou ability, the camera will sort of like rapidly pan around to look at your character from the front while they strike a dramatic pose, right?
Yep.
But if you do that with a well-endowed character, all of the old boob physics appear to be there.
Okay.
So they have basically the only people for whom boob physics are removed are the people who will go out of their way to look at boobies. Which seems like a very strange approach.
It does. Doesn't
It's more like they're actively trying to annoy people than actually that they believe in the censorship. As if they believed that, oh well, it's unseemly to animate boobs in this fashion. If that's what they believed, then they've done a very inconsistent job of following through on that.
Yeah, maybe they should be talking to Team Ninja in that regard.
Maybe the developers of Warriors Orochi are subtly on the player's side and don't want Sony censoring their boobies. So what they're doing is they're trying to cause an outrage by targeting the boobie nerfs specifically at the people that'll watch the boobies.
Oh boy.
This is the most optimistic headcanon I can think of.
We've gone back to boobs again for the show. It's a third show about boobs.
Third show they've come up. We haven't made this one about it yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, so I did give that due inspection because Lian Shi appears in your party very early on.
Yes.
So yeah, that is the specific detail on the booby nerfs in Warriors Orochi. The physics are still there. They're heavily suppressed in any mode that you would use to gaze in an unseemly fashion at your characters.
I wouldn't mind it too much on certain characters on the PC version, which have the ridiculous amounts of bounce and jiggle, but they're wearing plate armor. It's a bit silly.
Yeah.
Just a bit silly.
Yeah. So I'm pretty I'm neutral on it. I'm not. I don't care that it's not there, but I care that they took it away.
The censorship is the more annoying thing.
Yeah, it was there and then it wasn't annoys me. Like it not being there wouldn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much the way that I'm inclined to look at it at this point. But
like if they'd just made a toggleable feature in the options menu, there wouldn't be outrage. You could turn the boobies back on.
The jiggle slider. Again, Team Ninja. Pretty sure they had a jiggle slider in a couple of their games.
Yeah, I think that they did, but yeah, it was. I think in Dead or Alive, it was originally called the age slider for reasons that are completely incomprehensible to me. But yeah, so yeah, they've taken it away sort of in a half pie fashion, and I'm not really sure why. It's just like this is clearly, it looks like forced compliance from their end. Like they really didn't want to do this, and they did the absolute minimum to get through the people who were checking. Because there are only two types of people who inspect their characters' boobs in great detail: people who like to inspect boobs in great detail, and people who are checking to see if there are other people who might want to inspect these boobs in great detail. So there may be overlap between the two groups. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure that this was a forced censorship that was just put in there in order to sort of get through an unreasonable demand from the publisher. And they really need to put an end to this bullcrap. It's going to become a real obstruction. But else about that, I guess the boobies thing doesn't really bother me because my favourite one of the female characters is usually Guan Yiping, who doesn't really have much in the way of that upstairs anyway.
No.
Relatively speaking, compared to most video game characters.
She's pretty modest, yeah.
But
she's
yeah,
also one of the more fun characters to play as.
Yeah, because she's just so absurd. Like her character archetype is a girl who is ridiculously, supernaturally, disproportionately strong for her build, but completely fails to realize it.
Yeah. And she's just that little bit goofy to go with it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've enjoyed what I've played of that. I think probably the worst thing about it is the fact that, and this is just more of a getting used to things aspect, is that the control system for characters from Samurai Warriors and from Dynasty Warriors are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep forgetting which game which one is from, and I keep using the wrong button. Like, because you can't get any mileage out of spamming triangle if you're playing a Dynasty Warriors character, but there is a very important reason to do it at times on a Samurai Warriors character.
Mm-hmm. But on the other hand,
So-
if you there are certain points where you want to hit triangle flat for a Dynasty Warriors character, usually to break an officer out of a move. But if you try that with a Samurai Warriors character, you get staggered.
Yeah, and I was completely unprepared for that because I haven't played Samurai Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why can't I hit this thing? How do I even break this block? No, you actually have to just face check them with normal attacks if you're playing a Samurai Warriors character to get through a guard. If you're playing a Dynasty Warriors character, the normal attacks aren't going to do a damn thing.
Yeah,
So
that's when you want to hit triangle.
yeah, so it's a little bit of a frustrating thing to try and remember because you've got to change your control scheme on the fly depending on which game your character is originally from.
Have you figured out what the difference between strategy and magic is yet?
Strategy is usually something that is done in a very matter-of-fact fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Magic is something done by emulating Dragon Ball Z.
There you go. To the point where you've got certain characters will actually do a Kamehameha wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zhuge Liang being one of them. And it's hilarious.
Yeah. Risengamen is the item which gives you Kamehameha on any character that's carrying it.
Yeah.
So,
And we're not just saying it because it's similar, it is actually Kamehameha.
yeah, it's the Kamehameha wave.
It's got the full pose and everything.
Yeah. Charge up sequence. Like it is exactly a Kamehameha wave, and it was intended to be. There's no way it wasn't intended to be.
Yeah. I have found that the magic tools, they kind of vary in usefulness quite a lot. Like the hammer's fairly decent, but the Boots of Hermes, their group up attack kind of flings your character around more than I'd like.
I very rarely use the group up attack, to be honest.
Yeah, some weapons it's really good, others it's just absolute garbage.
The group up attacks, like I don't generally use them because I almost always want to use I almost always want to use the goblets one to clear areas because that the special one rather than the gathering one, you know, the triangle one, it will hit the same number of people as the gathering one, except it will make them all die.
Yes.
So it almost always seems like a better option to me to just kill everything. Don't muck about with The
same goes with Artemis's bow. It's the basic attack is it'll poke a hole in an enemy, or you could use the power attack and just poke holes in lots of enemies and they die.
Yeah. Another thing I found that's a little bit odd with this game is that when you knock up an officer, it seems really hard to find them again sometimes.
Yeah, they tend to fly off in whatever direction they choose, doesn't it?
It's very hard to predict where they're going to end up, and it's other than the fact that it will always be the direction you didn't look, and so you get hit by them.
Yes. Especially
It's
for
just
certain
a little
attacks
bit
where they
on the
somehow
front
end up directly behind you and poke you in the back of the head.
Like the magic attack where you sort of you basically place an orbital laser cannon strike on the ground.
Yeah, there's a few of those.
And it will suspend them in the air while it basically Kamehamehas them from above.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last hit will send them flying. I can never find the officer after that. There have been some times where I've been absolutely convinced that the officer has physically disappeared from the map and has just respawned somewhere else later.
Nope, he's just actively avoiding your camera.
But yeah, it's fun, and the Unity attack is spectacularly absurd.
I would have liked if they had one per magic weapon type instead of just one for everyone.
Yeah, it would have been nice, but I can sort of understand why there's a limit to how ridiculous you can, how many different ridiculous things you can come up with, and they've already come up with an admirable number of ridiculous things. If you factor in the fact that every one of those 170 characters has a unique magic uber explosion effect, like
which is
that's actually kind of impressive.
It's usually something completely absurd and silly too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there seem to be certain ones of those magical effects that are just like, I think I found that the trident one, the water one, is just ridiculously overpowered.
Oh, it is. It is horrendously overpowered. Where your character just goes surfing and everything dies.
Like well, it's not even that it does that much damage. Like, I haven't put any ranks into more magic damage yet, but it seems to be one of the lower damage magic effects.
Oh,
but the reality is that you're basically invulnerable to all normal stuff while you're doing it.
Yeah.
So you can just sort of wander around picking up guys and murdering them. And there's not a thing they can do about it.
Certainly doesn't number on an officer if you can trap them in it.
Yeah. But there are other ones like I can't remember which one it is now. The whip. I still can't remember what it's called. It's a strong one. It's crap.
Yes.
Like it barely kills anything.
Yeah. But the base one is just throw out a fireball.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm enjoying it, but it is like the ridiculousness has been turned up a notch from normal, and I didn't even know that there was a notch above that. So. I'm
a fair way into it. I'm into the third chapter, and I still haven't found some of the more ridiculous characters that showed up in Dynasty Warriors. Like, as much as you might hate him, what's his name now? The fat guy at the start.
Dong Shuo.
That's him. He's a fat jerk, but he's incredibly ridiculous and hammy. And even all his Musu attacks usually involve around spamming bombs all over the place and cackling like a lunatic. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do with godly weapons.
I got hit by it.
Oh dear.
In the single player mode because I didn't understand how to interrupt.
Okay.
He's got this really weird chain thing with wolf heads on it.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, it's just called the Kerberos. It's
right. 3
wolf head orbs all chained together.
Right.
Which is silly in the certain characters' hands.
But anyway, yeah, I'm having a good time with it. My major problem is finding time to actually play it. So I haven't made very much progress per se, especially considering the amount of time I've been putting into grinding and FGO.
This is the world of adult.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I really don't like it.
I've got to say, actually, Warriors Orochi, compared to previous Dynasty Warriors or Warriors games, have seemed to have finally figured out loading times. It loads very
I was surprised. Well, you say it loads very quickly. I don't think it loads very quickly, but it loads way quicker than normal for a Dynasty Warriors game. I was quite impressed they've managed to get their optimization sort of a bit sorted out compared to what it used to be.
Yeah.
As usual for a Dynasty Warriors game, its capacity for explaining mechanics is pretty poor.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what to do with the weapons, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how it works at all. It seems like you can sort of make them stronger by using them, and you can also spend gems to add slots, and you can fuse them, and you can sell them, and you can dismantle them, and I really don't understand the weapon system at all. I have no idea how to approach a better weapon each time I get more.
They've completely overhauled the weapon system for this one. You've more or less, I think, kind of got the general idea where you kind of sell off weapons you don't need, dismantle the ones that actually have useful socketed things in them. I'm not sure what they actually call them. I'm just going to call them gems because they serve the same purpose. But you find one you like, you add more slots, then you slot more gems. That costs money. Lots of money.
But the thing is, I don't know how you tell what is a good base weapon. Like, I guess you just have to look at the base attack. But sometimes you've got to downgrade your attack in order to get a better base weapon.
Yes.
It seems because they seem to get stronger the longer you use them, or something.
As you use them, the character builds up affinity with them and earn damage bonuses.
Right. Yeah. At any rate, it seems like it's a system that isn't that complicated, but it does seem like they don't explain it at all.
Yeah. So what's new for a Dynasty Warriors game?
The bond system it amuses me because every bond event seems to basically be a bro down.
Yeah.
Like that's been my experience, is that mostly they are bro downs.
There is one like some of them are very cool, but a lot of them just descend straight into gag reel territory. I found one where two stoic characters are having a chat, and it basically it more or less devolves into just nodding at each other. And that's all they're doing is nodding, going, yes, yes, yeah.
Some of them are a bit sort of discomforting though, because they're like, obviously canonically married characters that are just flirting relentlessly with each other.
Yeah,
it's sort of like that's a little bit inappropriate, really. Like,
because you're already married, you're past this stage.
Yeah, it's like your partner and your children are in the cast.
That is your daughter over there. What are you doing? Then again,
make another one. More characters to sell.
Maybe they've just proceeded to the point where they've assumed the parental duty of embarrassing your children.
It could be.
They've just evolved to that point in their relationship.
Nope, the characters have got a mandate from the dudes that make the game that they need to make more characters so they can sell them as DLC.
There are
franchise crossover children.
Oh, good grief, no. Have you? I suppose you haven't ran into Masamune's squeeing yet.
No. I've only played a few levels. I haven't had much time. My roster is still quite small.
Yes, important historical figures should not squee, but he does.
Yes, I was rather startled to behold firsthand Nobunaga pulling his Devil Trigger.
Yeah.
Because that is blatantly Devil Trigger mode.
That is blatantly Devil Trigger mode for him.
Like, for Lu Bu, it's Super Saiyan, but for Nobunaga, it's Devil Trigger mode.
Yep.
It looks exactly like a Devil May Cry Devil Trigger mode would.
For what's her name now? I can never remember the name. There's so many characters to keep track of, but she's got the power of Aphrodite. She's a magical girl.
I see.
Yeah. Did we mention this game was silly?
This game is very silly.
Yes.
All I can think of when you mention power of Greek goddess, I'm just like, poor Atalanta.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think after those three, they kind of gave up. Like, Sao P shows up and he's got Poseidon's power and he just kind of wears this sort of like feudal China Aquaman costume type thing.
Nothing about the sentence you just said makes any sense.
No, it does not.
I'm pretty sure he's aware of that.
Nah, yeah.
You're making it very hard to sell this game to me. Because I don't understand half of what you're talking about.
I think all of these things are really cool and they're really amusing and they are the logical conclusion of what Dynasty Warriors is.
When absolutely nothing makes sense, even in context.
With slightly less boobies.
Well, yeah, if you're on the PS4. But I'm half expecting some character to turn up with some variation of a Sentai costume at this point. It's going to happen. I'm not sure who it's
I'm pretty sure that character's probably in there, yeah. But I mean, most of the characters are so camp without going all that way that it wouldn't really be necessary.
No, you're right there. So yeah, good game. Very, very highly recommended, just because it's completely absurd.
Yeah, if you like Muso games, it's definitely a good one. And yes. I feel like it's also a little bit more generous than average in certain respects. Namely, your hitboxes are not so... When you're attacking things, it's pretty generous about it. It doesn't have some of the things that some of the Dynasty Warriors in the games in the past have had, where the number of things that you can hit seems to be carefully calibrated so that there's always one guy standing behind you that you can't hit.
Yes.
When a combo forces you to proceed forward, it generally carries guys with you, or will continue hitting things that have been in the area of your attack, although the animation is forcing you to move, so that your aim when you start off your combo, you're actually continuing to do it where you want. You don't just get locked in an animation which is going to get you killed. So yeah. I'm not. I have mixed feelings, not wholly negative or wholly positive, about the 3-character system where you leave them on the bench to recharge health.
Mm-hmm.
I miss being able to just play one character and pick up health pickups.
Yeah.
Because normally I select a character because I want to play that character.
Mm-hmm. The health pickups are still there, but they're just a lot less common now.
As in, I've never seen one since I've been playing.
Yeah.
So, also a couple of times, like, I've had a character that's sort of leapt ahead in experience because something happened and I don't know what, and every enemy I killed started dropping EXP.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that was. I think it was, I say explained. Dynasty Warriors levels explained at some point. But I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know what causes it at all.
Yeah. But yeah, your character levels up really quickly at that point. Whenever it does decide it's going to arbitrarily happen.
I also have somewhat mixed feelings about the elite character sorting system,
mm-hmm.
where you allegedly get more EXP if you play certain characters in certain levels.
Yep.
Because it's the sort of thing that I feel obliged to.
Yeah.
And I don't really like that.
Yeah, I try and use them each time just because it gives a nice rotation of characters as you go through the game, but that means leveling up a new character just about every level.
I mean that is be that as it may. Like, I mean, I don't particularly like that because I feel obliged to use it, but I do like the system that they've got in place where, as you're playing, you accumulate growth points.
Yep.
So that you can boost the level of new ones when you get a new character added to the roster and you really want to play it. You can just boost its level so that they become usable. Yeah. I think that's a really nice touch in a game which has so many characters, because it was always a bit of a burden in Dynasty Warriors games past when you got a character that was just like, oh, you just unlocked this character, but it's level 1, so basically you've got to do the grind again for them.
Yeah, so go all the way back to Yellow Turban. Enjoy.
Yeah, although Yellow Turbans is almost always one of my favourite maps in most Dynasty Warriors games. It's very relaxing.
Yeah. Incidentally, some characters have just become even more camp, I guess, than they have ever been before.
Camp?
More camp.
That's impressive.
Like, certain characters have devolved, I guess, from obstructive bureaucrat into fop, for example. You can probably guess who that one is. But, yeah. And yeah, Guan Yu is just the universal badass now, as is his beard.
Yeah.
He always kind of was, but now it's just, that's his whole thing.
I was sort of a bit taken aback when Uesugi Kenshin comes on the scene.
Oh dear.
Because I always remember him as the incredibly sort of, like, a person who has a voice and appearance that is incredibly androgynous and slightly effeminate.
Mm-hmm.
But everything that he says and does is total badassery.
Yes.
It's like his image doesn't match his body type. And because this version of him is the one that I remember from Sengoku Basara.
Yep.
The version of the one that is in this one, on the other hand, is like a big, stocky, manly man who has Kirei's voice actor.
Yes.
And so it's incredibly disconcerting to me because they are absolutely polar opposite incarnations of the same historical individual.
And he is so ridiculously fun to play.
And they're both completely absurd.
Yes. Enjoy the silliness. Well, that is all
I am enjoying the silliness. I just wish I had time to enjoy it a bit more.
Yeah.
But
I'm also slightly salty that you got it on the PS4, because now that means we can't play co-op.
Yeah, but my computer's a toaster, so.
You have a point, yes. Silliness squared.
But yeah, I haven't played a great deal more of Berseria because of not having time. Basically, I've played a little bit of it though, and despite Ari's insistence that it was generally speaking unwise, I keep playing Magilu as my main character.
Oh dear.
Because I find it more effective and entertaining to play, although you do tend to have to build a new combo every time you encounter a new enemy. Because her combos are all very
ridiculous.
She has a much narrower toolkit of things that she is effective against than the other characters seem to.
Mm-hmm.
But her numbers are through the roof compared to other characters. So if you set her up right, you will do a ridiculous amount of damage. This has been a mixed blessing, because just before the show, I got bushwhacked by the respawn creatures.
Oh dear.
So
if you've been doing too well, apparently, they pop in on you unannounced.
You're playing on normal.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the spawn rate, just so you know how unlucky you are, the spawn rate is something like 1 in 1,000.
But that's what happened
see
to
one
me
on
in
normal.
as soon as they announced. Like, the game said, hey, we're going to start dropping rare spawn creatures on you. Here's one now.
You have to their trigger condition is something in the ballpark of get a certain amount of grade points or grade score from enough consecutive random battles in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 10, and you will flip the trigger that says yes, the enemy can now spawn in this area.
Yep.
And it's a mini boss / boss. They range from really easy to really fracking hard. And it's called a dire foe, and it shows up and it's scaled to your level, so you can't out-level them.
Nope.
They do have a cap. Once I think it's like level 100, and the player level cap's 200, so you can eventually out-level them. But by that point, they're not useful to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll just show up and kick your butt.
Yeah, they just turn up and ruin your entire day.
Yeah, I had to run. Like, I was absolutely unprepared for it. And it one-shot Magilu. So.
It's not a good thing when the game punishes you for doing too well.
Well, I presume that the rewards are good if you can bring one down, but
Presumably, yes.
I was just not ready to deal with something that vicious.
No.
Yeah.
So
there is a method of quickly chaining encounters back to back to build up some combo multiplier, and then trying to encounter as many dire foes as you can to get some stat up. I had to do that for a while, but I forget what it was for.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. Okay, that's about the point I ended up leaving the game temporarily. Is one of those bosses dropped on my head, and that was the end of that playthrough.
Yeah, on normal, there's supposed to be a really, really low chance to spawn. You're not really supposed to fight those things unless you're playing on hard or higher.
Yeah, that's a lie. they spawn.
They still can spawn in normal, though.
And they will.
They're toned down from their hard version, but that gorilla will still one-shot you.
Oh yeah, it was the
And
gorilla
he
that got me. Stupid gorilla.
Yeah. The gorilla is the one where you have to literally turn the character model away and run away from him.
Yep. No backpedaling.
hope-
That ain't gonna work.
Hope that Laffy and Magi are on the ball with those reses.
I don't have a res yet for anybody. So
I usually resort to chucking items at them to get them back up if they fall over.
Yeah.
I face checked the bat mark. You know how there's the particular marks you've got to kill.
Mm-hmm.
Rare monsters. Like, I face checked that bat one because it was there. They hadn't even introduced the system yet. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a bat. Yeah, I had to use a lot of items to get through that battle.
Yeah, that's a mini boss.
Yeah.
You can fight the ogre early too by accident.
So I ran into the ogre. I wasn't supposed to run into the ogre.
Yeah, I bumped into the ogre early, and he wasn't hard, but he took forever to die.
By the time I met him, I murdered him. It wasn't even funny how badly he got his butt kicked. Like, I must have just seen him late or something. So yeah, he was not a challenge. But they hadn't even explained how to do weakness combos when I met the bat. So I had no idea how I was supposed to be doing damage to him since he's resistant to practically everything.
Yeah, I think it's shortly after you can first run into the bat that it explains that.
Yeah, so it was kind of rough for me.
This is
So I spent
information
a lot
we
of
should have
time-
told you 10 minutes ago.
I spent a lot of time running in circles.
Yes. Alright. Any interesting anime worth talking about?
Okay, so last week I talked about falling on the grenade 3 times for our listeners.
Oh dear.
And it was definitely falling on the grenade.
Oh,
And I have continued to fall on grenades. So I knew better. I knew better. But I was tempted anyway because I thought surely not. Surely not. That's too obvious. There's a series called My Sister, My Writer,
oh, good grief, why?
which is just the same story again, except worse. So basically, all you really need to know about it is it's a story about a sister who's madly in love with her brother.
Yep.
And it's another story about a light novel writer.
Yep.
Like, why? Why does this keep happening?
Is this a subgenre now or something? I don't know.
It basically has been. Like, isekai writers who have unhealthy relationships with their siblings. Like, why is this a thing? Why does it keep on being a thing? I don't understand it, but it is, and I fell on a grenade again. And that's basically all there is to say about that. Like,
yeah.
I don't think that we need anything additional. That will just. I don't want to.
Every season for the last, year and a half, 2 years, has had a very similar anime in it.
Why is this the way of things?
I don't know, but I wish they'd stop.
Because the industry's more ways to make sure I specifically won't watch anime anymore.
All right, so that grenade that blew up me with it. I'm dead.
It's a very, very obvious grenade, though.
Yeah, like, well, the thing is, they changed the name actually to My Sister, My Writer.
Yes.
It wasn't originally named that in the Japanese version. They toned it down.
I read the synopsis actually for it, and it kind of gave the impression that this is going to be an interesting story about, someone who's a sister who is ghostwriting for her brother. But I looked at it and I figured, I know exactly where this is going to go. And sure enough.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
At any rate.
Incest is not Wincest, kids. Don't do it.
No, it is not.
No, it ends species, alright?
Yeah.
You know why we make fun of the inbred Alabamans? Because the genetics make them stupid.
Oh boy, that's not very nice.
It's 900% true and factually correct, though.
Well,
Yeah.
the fact is that it's wrong for a whole bunch of philosophical reasons as well. But let's not get into that. It's actually very, very hard to make the argument against it these days on a purely materialistic basis. You need to understand a little bit about ontology and teleology. But the reality is that I'll go into this a little bit more in case there's anybody who is, foolish enough to follow in my footsteps. It's actually really bad. Like, let's say, for example, that incest stories are really your thing and you're into that for some reason.
You should probably check yourself
Let's
in for a mental health clinic,
let's
by
just-
the way.
Let's just put that as an assumption for the sake of argument. Even so, it's really bad. Like, I have never seen a show that wanders off model so often.
Ugh.
The drawing is very, very sloppy. It's really bad. And a character will often just be completely wall-eyed.
Oh dear.
Like, the eyes are pointing in different directions for no reason. So not only is it a trashy show about a trashy subject, but its technical merits are also trashy.
Non-existent.
Like there is literally nothing redemptive about this show whatsoever. Like even the little sister character isn't that cute because the art is so poor.
Ugh.
And like her only job is to be cute. That's what little sisters and little sister anime are for.
Yes.
But doesn't even do a good job of it because the artist is bad.
Just
So this is falling on a few grenades. This is like falling on a cluster mine.
yeah.
There's not really anything to redeem this show, even if you thought it could be redeemed, which it can't. I'll have you know. So
Just so
there's
you
that
know,
one.
I've been idling while you've been talking about my capital squick.
Yeah, that's fair. So let's move on to something hopefully good.
So, well,
Oh no.
don't. Okay, well let's take the new subtopic, idols. So I watched Zombieland Saga. It's a zombie show. I didn't want to watch it because it was a zombie show, but it's a very, very, very,
Yay!
very, very, very strange zombie show.
Yeah, I saw that one.
So the main character she's beginning her second year of high school, and she's going to apply to an idol agency for an audition.
Mm-hmm.
She runs out the gate, gets hit by a truck, and dies. 10 years later, she wakes up and she's a zombie.
Right.
And basically, it's their producer wants to create an idol group to revive the prefecture, basically. But rather than doing things the normal way, he has found a group of idol and idol-like characters and character archetypes who have become zombies, and has gathered them all up in the basement of this derelict building, and is gradually, basically, waiting for them to wake up back to their personalities, and the main character is the first of them. She regains her personality first, although most of her memories are missing.
From what I've seen of the show, the producer dude is
He
pretty
steals
hilarious.
the show.
He's
He
a
steals the
complete
show by a
nut
mile.
job.
He walks the line perfectly between being incredibly obnoxious and being incredibly hilarious.
He reminds me of Hyo-Ling Kyoma from Steins Gate if he decided to take up being an idol producer instead of being a mad scientist.
Like if you had to spend any time with him in real life, you would punch him in the face within 5 minutes. But
Hey.
when he's being inflicted on somebody else, he's hilarious. So yeah, he's really steals the show. It's almost to the show's detriment because he's such a loud character that he kind of drowns out the others. So you've got the other characters are all zombies, and they basically comprise like the leader of a biker gang, the premier idol of the 2000s, the premier idol of the 90s, a girl who kicked off an idol boom in the 80s, a famed courtesan from an earlier period of Japan's history, a famed child actress, and one girl who still hasn't snapped out of the zombieing phase, and so still tries to bite people all the time, who hasn't been identified as anything in particular yet. I've only watched a few episodes of it, but it's a very strange show. I don't know what mind created this. It's very odd, and without the producer being the sort of character he is, it wouldn't work, because the story, while being conventionally an idol story, is so macabre. Like, it's just really, really macabre. An idol story where like so much of the humor ends up revolving around someone's limbs falling off or something like that. It's just not very natural, and the fact that each of these girls has to face the reality that they got offed in the prime of their life,
Mm-hmm.
and they're now decomposing corpses. Like it's just sort of it's a bit dark, and so everything in here is black humor, and they do very little idling. The first episode, the only thing that the various girls, other than the lead character, can do at this stage is shuffle around and flop around randomly and groan and roar and make zombie noises. So they hold a death metal concert.
Awesome.
Because the only thing that they can do is roar and mosh.
Sounds
like
about
it's
right.
just head banging. It's just head banging. So that's their first one. And then the next episode, I think they do, for some reason, rapping instead and whatnot.
But why would you do that?
Yeah, basically, it's an idol story, but it's black humor and coming from a very, very weird direction. So I can't give any particular kind of recommendation or warn people away from it because it's just so bizarre. There's no other idol show like it, and there's no other zombie show like it. Because these are two genres that were never meant to meet. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It wasn't quite falling on a grenade, but I feel like I at least fell in a puddle.
Yes.
Of something.
A rather sticky one you don't want to think about.
Yeah, so...
If you want to see Resident Science Adventure Mad Scientist take up being an idol producer and collect zombies, that's who it's for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything with the Mad Scientist in it is immediately improved.
I haven't seen Steins Gate, but he repeatedly sidesteps the issue of why they're zombies.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's going to come out later. But he basically gets through everything with bluster and then has a sort of a just as planned attitude afterward.
Oh dear.
But he's not very stable. He's bonkers. So yeah. He's a fun character to watch though. So yeah, I think that the most that you have to do I think in order to say anything about this you have to have seen it. It's too weird. There's no parallels anywhere. So I think that you need to give this the 3-episode test in order to decide whether it's your thing or not.
Mm-hmm.
1 episode is not enough, but by 3 you probably will have enough of a beat on it to decide what you want to do.
I have linked Producer Coon in the live show chat.
All right. Anything else, or shall we take our break? We're probably about due. Overdue. Again.
We are.
You can take a break.
Let's
take a break. All right. We'll be right back after some music, folks. We'll see you in a little bit. And we are back.
Yes.
So, in the totally intentional segue I threw out for you about Idolus, we left off at producer Kuhn and his army of zombie idols.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what to say about that show. Like, it's very strange. I don't even know if I like it or not.
It does certainly sound strange.
I don't have a gut reaction of, oh, this is really cool, I want to see the next episode. Nor do I have a gut reaction of, I don't really like this, I don't really care to see the next episode. Like, I just don't know what I think because it's so bizarre.
I've only seen clips of it, but it gives me the impression of a show that any other season would be considered pretty watchable, but not great.
Probably, but this season has been so freaking, my goodness me, it's been subpar. I'm glad that there are like one or two things that I like to watch in it because it's been rough. It's really not good. Like, a new season of Index works for me because I'm really invested in that setting. Like, I just had 4 more Index novels arrive in the post today. I'm a fan of it. And the slime one is satisfying to watch. But other than that, it's just really rough. Like, the Gridman one, like, so far it's pretty shallow, so it's shallow watching. It's not really. It doesn't capture my imagination. It's just nice to look at.
Yeah.
And Sword Art Online is Sword Art Online. But
yeah,
it's just I'll grant the new Sword Art Online this. Kirito basically gets his butt kicked and only wins by the skin of his teeth.
Can we just watch that?
The first real fight, like, he realizes fighting is different when you can feel pain.
Funny about that.
And they downplay it after he realizes that, like, it ceases to be an issue when it is necessary for him to do something dramatic and heroic. But he basically, his stats are real low now, and that is good for the story because it means that he has to train and he has to fight carefully. He can't just overpower everything with guts because he tries to do that and it does not work.
That's Herc's job.
Yes. He puts the glad in Gladiator. But, this season is just really rough. I can't find very much that I really like. That I don't have that. Like, what in previous seasons it's been like, I really look forward to the weekend because then I've got time to watch the next episode of X.
Mm-hmm.
But this season has not been like that. It's just, I guess there's new stuff to watch. That's about as far as it goes.
When anime becomes a job.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know. I'm still watching the Crunchyroll roster, and I'm skewing further and further towards discontinuing my sub to them and finding other means of watching anime because, number one, the number of shows they get each season has decreased season over season.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, there's not enough good anime to justify paying for anime subs.
Well, the thing is, I don't even know. I don't even know if there's good ones because there's so many that I can't watch now because of Crunchyroll getting fewer and fewer.
Not to mention their wackiness with region locking.
Yeah, and what's more, they spend their money on making CalArts crap.
You notice they've been incredibly quiet about that.
Yeah, but even when they weren't being quiet about it, they weren't talking about the show. That was what people objected to, right?
Mm-hmm. Like,
people complained chiefly about, like, because there's not any kind of political unanimity in the fandom that uses Crunchyroll, but everybody complained about it anyway. And the reason was that when they went to promote it, they didn't say anything about the show.
Mm-hmm.
They only talked about the people making the show because they were all raging narcissists.
Yep.
And that shows that they aren't spending their money wisely because they're hiring raging narcissists. So, yeah, it's a situation where there's very little keeping people watching Crunchyroll. Their PS4 app is awful. Like, it's just a pile of garbage.
Oh yeah.
I don't understand how you can program something so badly. they haven't moved anything away from Flash to HTML5.
Nope.
Their site is still, a disaster area. Like, the fact is that there are free illegal streaming sites that are way slicker.
Mm-hmm.
And that should not be the case.
That have an actual functional cues list, favorites list, bookmark list, etc.
Yeah, like everything that Crunchyroll does is bad, and they are cruising on a reputation that they built by skiting, basically, about how much better they are than other people. And the fact that, from what I've heard, I don't watch any anime YouTubers. I don't watch any. But what I've heard is that a lot of them are on board with Crunchyroll and shill for them relentlessly.
It's not even just anime YouTubers. Crunchyroll will find any vaguely nerd-ish YouTuber they can and offer them a partnership deal.
Yeah.
It is probably the second most advertised thing I see on YouTube from the channels I follow.
What would be the most?
Audible.
Yeah, okay, fair, cool. It used to be Loot Crate at one point.
I see.
Loot Crate's up there too. It's probably tied to Crunchyroll.
Yeah, they've backed. They're backed off.
I've got a different list of things that I watch then, because for me it's always Skillshare.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's in the top 5.
Skillshare's right
but
up there.
Yeah. The thing is, all these names we just mentioned for partnerships and sponsorships, usually a YouTuber will be a partner with all 4 of them and rotate what they sponsor for that particular video.
Yeah. By the way, to cap out the top 5, it is Blue Apron.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there's number 5.
Remember when Death Blue Apron, and I think they still do.
They still do.
It's like, dudes are here to watch people punch each other, not cook food.
There are other things.
I hear it's a pretty good service in the places that you can get it.
Yeah.
It's like North America only, isn't it?
Something like that. There are others for Australia, but they don't advertise those, do they?
No, Yellers.
But yeah, so the short version is that Crunchyroll is a pile, and the only reason that anybody ever had to give them money was the belief that some of that money would go back to the people producing anime. And now we know that the only way to give money back to the people producing anime is to buy anime merch from Japan and import it.
Oh, and I can confirm that Crunchyroll is still so broken with their sub service. I canceled last month because I needed to save money because car insurance bill. My sub still works just fine. That thing still will probably stay active for 6 months before they realize they need to deactivate it.
You might want to double check your account actually on that, your bank account. I've heard reports where people will cancel their Crunchyroll sub, but it will still keep.
Well, they've never charged me. Yeah, they haven't done that. I was just doing bank shenanigans, but
good.
This is not the first time this has happened. This has happened every single time I've dropped my Crunchyroll sub for one reason or another. Like, for any reason, it just always just keeps staying active, and I just don't pay it for like 4 to 6 months, and I still have access to shows like the hour they come out.
Well, I don't advocate for piracy. I don't, but the way that anime is structured, it has skewed in favor of, you can't, practically speaking, support the industry through legal watching of anime. You can't. So why bother? You're giving money to people who aren't putting any money into the product. The market does not function.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I don't really feel the urge to condemn anybody for watching anime illegally, provided that they also buy Blu-rays or merch or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buy merch, do direct support things, actually participate in conversations, be a voice in the crowd. That's how you can support the anime coming into the West. That's about the only way. Giving money to Crunchyroll, they're now a producer. So yeah, they ain't giving that back to Japan.
They used to pass some of it back a little bit, but now that they've basically bought into the CalArts thing, it's over pretty much. Crunchyroll is over.
Yeah, because they have produced a show, their funds are no longer reliably accounted for, even if they release them to the public. So it is very, very likely you're not supporting the industry if that was your big moral decision to stop pirating. Sorry. That's the way business works.
It's sad. Very sad.
Yeah, I mean, because that was a significant part, like for me, because the main reason I switched to streaming was because I wanted to save hard drive space, and I could have gone for an illegal streaming one or a legal streaming one, and I thought, well, I'll go with the legal streaming one because they say that the money will actually go back to the industry. Now we know it doesn't, so there's just no motivation for me anymore. I might as well use illegal streaming.
Yeah,
It will probably be better service, and I can just devote that extra money to sending it directly back to the industry myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
There's at the beginning, back when they were having to license the IP holders in Japan, you were supporting the industry. You're not doing that anymore either. Just so you know, folks, you haven't been doing that for at least 2 to 4 years. There are middlemen all over the place that are just auctioning those IPs off. That's how the system works. Also, do not, for the love of Gucci, support Amazon's Animu thing either.
I haven't even heard of that.
They're not
sufficiently bad that I can't see anybody actually doing that.
Yeah, it's just they are the there is always something worse to Crunchyroll. You literally just support Amazon when you buy it. They exclusivize shows and will not let them be licensed to anyone else if they get the rights to them. Like Crunchyroll and Funimation share some of their IPs. Crunchyroll and Netflix and Funimation share some of their IPs. There's cross-pollination. You can find multiple shows in different places. If Amazon gets it, you've got to pay $30 a month US to watch it.
Yep. Have fun with that.
Which there's a 99.9 repeating percent chance I did not do to watch Made in Abyss. Not saying I support piracy, because I'm not allowed to.
No. No.
Well, I genuinely don't support piracy. But the fact is that there's not actually another avenue being provided here. Because what Crunchyroll does is piracy. They're robbing people of their money and misappropriating.
So they had their roots in piracy, and now they've come at it from the opposite direction.
Yeah. Like, now they are, like, before they were sort of like rogue pirates grabbing content. Now they are like basically scam salesmen.
Yeah.
Like, they've got the product now, and they've acquired the product legally, but they are using it to lure in people for their own purposes. Like, the promise that you could support the industry through them is not a true one. It may have been once upon a time, but it is not anymore. Anyway.
Hey.
That's my week.
Ari, go. He went.
Ari?
Oh dear.
Oh no, I'm here. I just didn't. Dang it! My toggle mute sometimes gets stuck. I tapped the button and it didn't unstick. But yeah. So I'm gonna have to blitz my week faster than I've ever blitzed something before.
This is gonna be interesting
because we're super way over time. So this week was my busier week. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday were completely bogged down with work. I was pretty much held captive all morning. I worked a 14-hour day on Monday, thereabout. I worked a 10-hour day on Tuesday, and that would have been another 14-hour day if things didn't go so well at the site. Like, I actually got home and had time to sit down at my computer chair and talk to people before I had to go back in the office for about 2 hours. And Thursday was just an 11-hour, just stupid heavy work day where I had to go run around the county.
Yeah.
So I did not have a lot of time those days. But last week, before this week started, that I didn't tell you about on the last show because we were running late there too, Abo messages me and offers me a deal in a PM on Discord. And he goes, all right, I tell you what, I'll try Fate Grand Order out and take a poke at the Nasuverse if you download and play the Idoloo game.
Yeah.
By which he means Idolmaster.
Idolmaster.
Yes. So yes, this was not an exceptionally hard thing to do, but it was really tedious. Because there is no English version of this game. It's Japanese only.
Mm-hmm.
So my name is Jeff, and I live at the Prince Suite Hotel in some random prefecture I threw a dart at a map at as my official address as far as iTunes is concerned.
Jeff.
So yeah, managed to get that without any hassle. Managed to get the Bamco account registered without any hassle. And then the real problem started. The entire game's in Japanese.
Yep.
I had to literally have Abo sit there with me and explain what every single little block of text and pop-up meant. It was all fairly intuitive because a lot of them had little pictures that are fairly universal. Like the two little people-looking things are obviously your friends list and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And you can intuitively figure out what stuff is on the interface that if you just poke enough buttons. And they make you enter your birth date before you can buy gems, so you can't spend money by just poking around at least.
At least that's something. Unlike certain other games.
Yeah. So, Idolmaster Starlight or Cinderella Girl Starlight Stage is the current most. I don't know if it's the most modern of the mobile games, but it's the one Abo plays, and it's got a stupid huge player base relative to the amount of people that have access to it.
Relative to anything that isn't FGO.
Yeah.
Yeah. FGO is kind of the mobile game these days.
Yeah, FGO is really popular and continuing. Yep. But Starlight Stage is no slouch at all. There's something like 80,000 people in the Japanese only game logged on at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a slouch for a Japanese only game. For a perpetual login base, that's really dang good, actually.
It's a little bit crazy.
So yeah, this game is a rhythm game. Circles fall from the top of the screen in various flavors. You have to hold some, you have to tap some, and you have to slide your finger in wonky ways across some when they get to the face of one of your 5 idols in your idol unit at the bottom of the screen at the right time. And you play idol music. And it's a mobile game.
And it looks like you need freaky spider hands to play it.
That was the hardest song in the game played on Master Plus difficulty that's meant to be like stupid impossible
done with
the video
one
I showed
hand. You. Good grief.
Yeah, the point was that guy did something impossible.
Yeah.
Not that the whole game's like that. So there's 164 songs in the game right now, and about 200 idols in the game. That's in that ballpark. That is a lot of waifus. So to figure out who Best Girl was, Abo made me sit down and do like a 700, 800 questionnaire of it'll pop up 2 idols, pick the one you like better.
Okay, it was only like 360 odd.
It was really big and took an hour. It took you 10 minutes because you had alcohol in you and you didn't know any of their personalities and have the idol fairy telling you their whole backstories every time one popped up. No, but this took well over. It
was more honest because I had half a dozen drinks in me, so it was at least an honest take.
Yeah. So Vol also did the idol questionnaire for the voiced idols only. If we'd have done the unvoiced idols, it would have taken Vol an hour and a half, even if he was keeping his own pace. But yeah, so I did a dumb.
A dumb, you say?
You do at least one of these every week, so.
I threw money at Idarus.
Oh, don't do that.
So they have a promotion going on for the last quarter of this year, where if you're a new player, for the first month of playing, you can chuck $50 at the game, get 2 free 10 pulls. Well, not free because you just paid money, but you get 2 10 pulls from the gacha. You get 1 super rare, which is the equivalent of a 4-star in FGO, of your choosing, period, that was released before this year, even limited ones. And you get a ticket for a super rare, which is the equivalent of a 5-star. So any 5-star, this is the equivalent of FGO saying, okay, anything released before March of this year, if it's a 5-star, you can pick it and add it to your roster for $50.
right.
while
Sort of
also being
envious.
yeah. So this also comes packaged with 2 10 pulls, which these picks do not eat a slot from, and a 4-star equivalent in FGO to go with it. So I had to find my waifus.
The waifus. It's always about the waifus.
So, for those wondering, Kanade wound up being my favorite of all the idol designs that I saw.
She ended up being best girl.
Yep. She's 20 in the current continuity and 17 at the start of the series. And she's got really, really pretty black dresses and long black hair that's cut in like a bob cut.
From that little bit of time I managed to poke my face in and see what you guys were up to, you at least seem to be going out of your way to find the ones that were legal.
Yeah, so there's a trick to not getting arrested in the idol game. And that is pick blue idols. So the idols are classified as either a cool idol, or which are, you know, the shy types or the calm and collected types. And those tend to be the older ones. Those are blue idols. You have the passion idols, which can be pretty much anything and are basically cheerleaders.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, they have the same mentality as an airhead or a cheerleader. And then you have the cute idols, which are just there to be adorable.
They all send you to jail.
Yeah,
Yep.
all the pink ones will send you to jail. So if you limit your exposure to pink idols and focus mostly on blue idols, you might not have the FBI come knock on your door.
Oh, dear.
Although there is a strange phenomenon with this game where everybody, even the girls that play it, will pick on their own, with nobody prodding them to do so, a 12-year-old or younger idol and adopt them as a must protect,
Oh.
most precious thing ever.
Why?
And it happened. Arisu was mine. It happened immediately as soon as I saw her. It just happens.
This is
so-
not healthy.
So I have officially
Well,
decided
like,
I don't-
Dotaru is the next step up from waifu. So,
Yeah.
yeah, or step down, depends on how.
depending on your angle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Depending on where you're coming from. But yes, it's actually a pretty fun little mobile game, and I like the rhythm game part of it. Although, and it's very, very generous with its gems. Well, compared to FGO, you know, driving a nail into your foot is being generous, and being nice. But this game is, after coming from FGO to what is, according to most people, the average for most gacha games, as far as tentpole giveouts and drop rates.
You feel like they're making it rain.
Oh yeah, so it takes 30 cent quartz to do a tentpole in FGO, right? It takes 2,500 idle quartz. I don't know what it's actually called. Idle quartz to do a tentpole in Idaru. Every time any idol plays 5 songs, they'll get enough fans where they'll unlock a story event, and just for viewing that story event or skipping it, because I can't read any of the Japanese text, it just hands you 25 gems. Okay,
Right.
that's good. So, like, doing the dailies for the day just gives you gems. Like, gives you 25 to 100 gems, depending on what dailies they are. The events just shower you with gems just for playing the event. You know, like, if you manage to I have to use the real term. If you manage to full combo a song on pro difficulty or harder, which is the difficulty I'm currently working on, you get 25 gems the first time you do it. Like, the game is just chucking gems at you. I had enough gems from actual play to do 3 tentpoles by the end of the first week.
I see. That is
And you do-
crazy compared to what FGO gives you, which is usually
Yeah,
hit in
even
the
though-
face.
Well, the thing is, FGO is notorious for being the stingiest gacha game on the market.
Oh, just
Yeah.
the absurd cost for Saints Quartz.
It's even, and coupled with its absurd rates, the standard is 3%
Yes.
in gacha games now. That's what people seem to have found as the magic number, but Fate fans are so stupid, they'll pay for a 0.7%.
I wouldn't say stupid, but they're kind of... We need to coin a new term here. Waifu whacked.
Yes, they have been completely enthralled by their waifus.
Yes.
And will farm for months on end to get that quartz. But yeah, and so and then to make it even better, at the end of every single month for that one weekend, the drop rate for super rares doubles to 6%.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, that's the equivalent of 5 stars.
Yes.
And yeah. So with a limited banner, with one 5-star servant in its banner in FGO, you have a 0.7% chance to pull that servant if you get a 5-star servant. Well, on any card, actually. But in Idleland, either my first or second 10 pull had, no joke, 5 SSRs in it.
Good grief.
Yeah, I sent you a picture.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah, Abo didn't believe that either. So
Yeah.
my luck carries over into that game, and when you translate it to idols, I actually make progress. In FGO, it's more of a novelty. Oh, I got this cool, really powerful thing. One of them, and I need to build an entire roster of these things. And Idol loses like, you just pulled the whole roster. Here's everybody you need. Abo sent me a screenshot of that thing you just DM'd me. He actually print screened it. Yeah, he print screened those lines from you.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so Abo's like, oh, you're going to have to play the event song a lot, and you might get a super rare from the gacha, it'll happen, but no, he doesn't understand.
Yeah, this is Ari we're talking about here.
Nagito level luck.
Yeah.
It is ranked EX. It is not measurable, or it does not adhere to normal rules. But when it clicks, it really clicks. Yep. So I'm actually enjoying Idols. It gives me something to do when while I'm playing FGO right now and on an FGO bench, while I'm waiting on AP to refill.
Yeah.
So
I think that's half the reason why they put things like AP and energy into these games, so you play one game, and once that runs out, you swap it over to another one. Preferably by the same developer.
I am positive that the line of thought for AP systems only goes as far as we can get them to buy quartz to get another AP bar.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I am 900% sure that's as far as they thought that through. I have no evidence to support that, but I'm positive of it. So yeah, I've been having fun playing rhythm games with cute anime girls. And learning a surprising amount of Japanese with cute anime girls, because you have to learn the characters for what the skills actually do. I know a square box and a square box for a Japanese character means healer now. So it's educational, right?
I guess.
So yeah, I chucked $50 at Idols and said that's all I'm doing for Idols for quite a while. I'll have to be still playing this game in 3 months to even consider at some later date from that throwing more money at it. And I've got a good roster from it, and I got to pick my SSR, so I got to pick the best version of Kanade that is like super really good and you can make a good idol unit around for blue teams. So I've got a team. And Abel's like, well, you can do multiplayer now. I'm like, yep, I won't be holding people back.
Yep.
So yeah. There's other minor features in the game that I don't have time to explain. If you like rhythm games and you like cute anime girls and want to go to jail, you can play the blue characters in Idolmaster Starlight Stage.
I don't want to go to jail.
Yeah, too late. Ari's already off to jail despite your best efforts.
I am protecting Arisu.
You're just delaying the inevitable.
I will explain it to Officer Friendly when he gets here. I'm sure he will understand.
You don't understand, Officer. They're waifus.
No, Arisu is adorable. I just want to protect her. Look at all these dresses I bought for her. They're all conservative ones. Yeah, I swear.
Get in the face.
Except for that free one. I'll delete that one. I promise. I don't actually think she has any revealing outfits at all. She's just precious. That's what Arisu is. But yeah. So yeah, other than that, I've made a lot of progress on my account as a whole in FGO. I haven't made any real meaningful visible progress, but I've got like a caster up to 70 now. I finally got around to dumping caster EXP cards in the Nursery Rhyme. Finally got enough hearts to ascend Herc, so he has his 3rd skill, and I'm working him up to 70. Got Orion up to 60 from 1 because I needed to do something with those Archer cards.
Yeah.
And yeah, got John to level 90. Like, the account has made quite a bit of progress, but that's very incremental progress that just kind of has happened throughout the week. So, plural. So the last 2 weeks have been productive, but it feels like I haven't done anything because none of it's very visible. Because I'm working towards a number goal. But yeah.
Yeah.
Did the event and stuff. Paul already talked about that, not doing that again. So yeah, I will leave it there for the.
All right. Well, let's talk about
And
some stuff that happened.
Let's do an email first.
Emails.
We do have an email. We should probably talk about that first. Should we though?
I guess I'll read it
it's
because you
boobs.
people. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. But we don't get it. We don't get these very often. Anyway, I'll read it because you guys butcher them horribly. So that's my cue to butcher them.
Butcher away, sir.
Anyway, so here we go. This is from our old buddy Serathus. Dear No Excuses. So it has come to this. I have finished watching Mahou Shoujo Ore. My reaction was, what? From start to finish, I had so many watts that I could have charged my phone with it.
Yeah, there were a
I really
lot
do
of
want-
watts in that.
I really do wonder what was the writer smoking at the time when he came up with this. Not to mention he broke the first rule of gender bending in anime and everywhere else. It is always male to female. Speaking of girls, you open to the booby box and you shall receive. Apparently breasts are fickle creatures and they bounce only at 30 FPS. Yeah, them console ports and their frame rate locks. Warriors Orochi's tit problems are because of a shoddy console port. Okay, so I've actually, as I've explained earlier in the show, I looked at them and that's not the case. It's not because of frame rate. It is because they have actually adjusted them because they appear differently in different parts of the game. Okay, so you know what doesn't have tits in your face? Crosscode, despite the protagonist being female, her best friend being female. It does have jumping puzzles. Holy shit, all the jumping puzzles. Most of them are optional. Other types of puzzles are not, however, and the story dungeons are chock full of them. It's almost more of a puzzle game than an RPG, set in an MMORPG. So some of the NPCs are PCs.
What?
Some of your party members are like, crap, I have to study, and just drop out of the game. Insert NPC meme here. So far the game has been all cutesy where you defeat bunnies and stuff. I can't wait for everything to go to a nightmare. Oh, there it is. Everything went to hell. As per indie games nowadays do. BlizzCon was a nightmare in itself. They announced mobile games in patches and some garbage about Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm, but no one cares. And Free Destiny 2, but no one cares. And
We'll
for some
get
reason,
to it.
it's
We'll get into that.
and for some reason, it's still not the Tauren Chieftains who are the show's band. Why? Blizzard literally has its own metal band that they spend money on. C-listed? R.I.P. Blizzard. R.I.P. Diablo. Also Deltarune, which is an anagram for Undertale. Toby the Sly Fox released a sequel with zero fanfare. Things are weird in Deltarune, but the music is nice and it's just chapter 1, so I guess we've got to wait for the plot to actually start. Until then, just enjoy how everything seems off.
All right,
Right.
we'll break this down one at a time and come back to the Blizzard stuff because we'll talk about that afterwards. Thank you for the email, Serathus.
He's actually got buttons here too. I'm gonna say, cool. I'll check it out. Okay, they're pre-programmed replies. Is this just Google now?
Yeah. Google
Why?
Mail has always done that. If you end an email in a particular way that it can pick up on, like because he said just enjoy X, it realizes that he's recommending something.
Algorithm
I'm
activate. Annoy.
Yeah.
I am so proud of you, Serathus. You wrote us an email. I'm going to click that button. I'm going to send it. You got an email from No Excuses.
Good grief! This system. Why is it a thing?
But yeah, okay. Mahou Shoujo Ore. I didn't watch it.
I did.
But
I gave it 4 episodes, and I was so utterly confused by that point. I just kind of stopped and went and stared at a wall because it made more sense.
I have seen a whole lot of GIFs of the show, like floating around the anime Reddits. That's it. And what y'all have talked about.
Yeah, just that show was strange. cute little girl becomes a magical girl, except magical girl is somehow giant butch guy because reasons.
Well, it's the dream of all modern feminists, right?
So, yeah, very, very strange show. Also, the primary bad guy seems to be swole teddy bears.
I see. That's a lie, I don't.
Yeah, and the cute animal mascot is a Yakuza facsimile, I guess. I don't know, the show was very, very confusing.
Yeah, it looked like it would be funny in reaction gifs, which it was, but it had no substance and didn't feel like it had enough meat for me to watch.
Yeah. By the 4th episode, like, there was plot there, but I had no idea what it was actually going on about, really.
Like,
it just seemed yeah, it was there for the lulls, really. The plot really had no bearing on anything that was going on.
Passive entertainment where I have to sit down and pay attention is a luxury in the adult world.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, Ore didn't meet the minimum requirements. Gotta give me something to chew on, man.
Nom 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 nom. Yeah.
I don't have time to actually watch nowadays.
See if you can find something else incredibly weird to watch. There's no shortage of weird, at least.
I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to find it either. I would have to give up video games to turn that time into watch TV or anime time.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, when the choice came down, when I got to be an adult, between anime and video games, I chose video games.
Yeah.
And fired WoW, and decided it wasn't a real video game.
We'll come back to that
Don't play
in
WoW.
a bit.
I'm foreshadowing with a sledgehammer.
I know, right?
So yeah. So the boobies this episode particularly, have A, come to us in the form of Serathus, and B, been follow-up from the previous week, so they're technically the boobies of last show. So I don't consider this a booby show.
It's more of a booby sequel.
It's
Good grief.
Yeah, like I said while I was reading the email, the fact is that it's not a frame rate issue, because if it was a frame rate issue, then it would be consistent everywhere, but it's not, because the in-combat scenes, all of the jiggling is intact as it was.
Oh boy.
Well, at least it seems to have been the case from what I've seen.
Enjoy the jiggle. There is plenty of it.
You know.
What about Crosscode? Has either of you played that one?
I played it when it was in early access because I got it as part of a bundle. I didn't pay for it individually. It just kind of showed up with another game I bought. It's like, oh, here's this extra early access game. It is I think I've explained this before. It's a pseudo isometric action RPG set in a world that follows the logic of MMORPGs.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not play very far into the game because it was in very, very, very early access, like a year and a half, 2 years ago. It was barely had the first level done. Wow. I got on some shipping boat and did a dungeon, and it ended. And that's like an hour and a half into the game. Yeah, so yeah, I generally don't like isometric platformers. I'm okay with 2D platformers. I'm okay with 3D platformers, but the isometric field of view with jumping puzzles just doesn't sit well with me.
It always feels a bit wonky, yeah.
Now, I don't know if they've kept the isometric perspective from the entire game, but most of, if not the entire game, was in a proper, Super Nintendo isometric perspective with that type of sprite work. It stuck together like a Super Nintendo game. It uses the same type of sprite work, like the old Final Fantasies and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, like Final Fantasy VI. I did not remember anything bad about the game. I think I briefly mentioned it as something that could turn out good back when I played it a long, long time ago on the show. And yeah, I may boot it back up again. We'll see.
Let's see. Just looking at the screenshots, yeah, they've kept that viewpoint.
Yeah. It is probably at least the dominant viewpoint. But yeah, Serathus telling me jumping puzzles in an isometric game worries me. So I may move it down the priority list. I mean, I already own it. It's not like I gotta buy it. It's in my list.
It's in the shame pile.
Yeah. I was less mad about its early access because it came packaged with something else as an extra thing.
All right. And next up is BlizzCon.
So-
BlizzCon.
So,
So we're going to make a real topic of that, or how are we going to handle?
I think we do BlizzCon as its own topic. And real quick before we jump off the email, I have seen quite a bit of Deltarune gameplay, and it looks way better than Undertale.
I have
Like,
not
just-
played
I'm
it
just-
yet, but yeah.
I'm sort of resistant to anything that's associated with Undertale. Like I still haven't played Undertale, but I generally just don't play games that hit media hype saturation.
Yeah,
I think the best way to play Undertale is in a vacuum.
yeah, that's
Just go play the game and then stay well and truly away from the fan base.
if you can construct a headspace where the fan base doesn't exist for a few hours, it's an pretty decent game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very hard because
I would
of
have played it by now if anybody would ever shut up about it.
That's
Yeah,
probably
it-
true, yeah.
It is unfortunately very hard to construct that headspace when people won't give you a chance to.
Mm-hmm.
But because this new one has come out, people have just started squawking about it again.
Yep.
And what I've seen of it, it looks really, really good. This the combat in the game especially looks way better. The interface looks way cleaner. It looks way more intuitive too.
Yeah.
So I've actually been impressed with the improvements they made while keeping the same style. So there are good things to say about it from an outsider looking in at gameplay without having actually touched the game. It has generally been the impression that everything from the story to the interface itself looks way better than Undertale did. And that was a big turn-off point for me while I was playing the game. Almost made me drop it a few times.
So yeah, just try ignore the fan base because that has really one of the worst fan bases going.
Even then, I only rate it as a good game. I don't think it's a must-play.
It was enjoyable, and it
Yeah.
had its moments, but yeah, I wouldn't say best game ever.
Yeah, no, it's just set up like that. But yeah, I figured I'd throw 2 cents in there because Deltarune's been everywhere. The circles I follow have inevitably been talking about it. So I've had to poke at it at least a little bit by watching some videos of it to understand what the heck these fools are talking about.
Sure.
But yeah. All right. I vote we start with the opening ceremony, and this will pretty much cover everything we really need to talk about.
Yeah, everything after that. Is kind
Which
of-
already, just saying that pretty much tells you everything you need to know.
So
Oh boy.
I'm going to give you, we're going to not start with Diablo, but I'm going to jump forward in time and tell you a conversation that happened as I was watching the opening ceremony live with Abo.
Uh-oh.
They can't be. They got to be pulling our leg. There's no way they could be this stupid, right? No. This is they're totally joshing us. Ellipsis. We'll continue the story when we get there.
Dot, dot, dot. All right.
So they had sound problems, so I forget what order stuff was announced at the opening ceremony because their sound system didn't work. They had to reschedule 1.5 of the parts of the opening ceremony because they cut to the Hearthstone guys in a specially made Hearthstone set and tavern, and the audio is so broken they have to cut away and say, "Well, I guess we're doing Overwatch now."
yeah, that kind of happened.
Yeah, so
What
I
an
don't.
embarrassment. They're supposed to be professionals.
Like, it's not
Yeah,
the
look.
worst presser I've ever seen. I mean, they're not Ubisoft, but yeah, it is bad.
Yeah, I'm just explaining why it's hard to keep straight what they announced first, and it's already a train wreck. But in top of that, the guy that was doing the Hearthstone stuff had to get his butt up, leave the special stage, and go on the Overwatch stage.
Yeah.
So we may go out of order from actual what was revealed, but yes.
All right.
So I vote we start with the Happy first. Well, the only thing that has any redeeming qualities, Happy's a really big stretch.
Okay.
Just so we can go whole hog and beat the crap out of Blizzard.
Right. There's two things one I'm kind of optimistic-ish about, and one I'm actually happy about. So take your pick.
So one, I've been going, where is it for a while? And this is the only thing that was even a little bit interesting that got my attention and could maybe on a sale, if I could find a way for Blizzard not to get the money, make me buy it. And Master.
Oh, you just cut out there.
You cut out completely.
Yeah.
Oh, The Warcraft 3 remaster.
Yeah. I'm
like
excited about it.
I'm not excited about it at all, but
Eh.
I can respect it as something that people want
Mm-hmm.
because Warcraft 3 was a good game.
Yep.
I don't know that it was a great one, but it was definitely a good one.
Yep. It's a very solid RTS, and Arthas's whole story through that was actually very well written until, the end of it in WoW.
And it also set the foundation for what was effectively our home for a decade, World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back when there was some continuity between the two stories.
Yeah, before they retconned the entire RPG handbook.
So yeah, it's a good compromise. Like, I don't think we're going to see Warcraft 4 ever.
Ever. No.
It's going to involve doing one of two things. Either declaring WoW a different timeline, which just throws all that out, or doing a time skip.
They're too proud to segregate WoW from the main timeline.
Are you sure we won't see Warcraft 4 in, say, the format that we've got Command and Conquer now?
Don't say these things.
This is supposed to be the good part. We'll get the sledgehammers out in a sec. They're coming. We're getting the good out of the way so we can go whole hog with it. But yeah, Warcraft 3 is a good game. I actually downloaded the classic version. I mentioned it on the show about a month and a half ago, intending to play it at some point. Time has to be available for that.
Yeah, time's a lie.
So I think that project's going to get on hold until the remaster comes out, and if reviews come out and say it's really good, I'll consider scooping it. If not, I'll just play the classic version that's already on my PC.
Fair enough.
That seems like the best way to approach this. Because
it doesn't really say much good about Blizzard, though, that the most creative thing that they've got to do with that space is to just dress up an old game again. I mean, yeah, I get that they want it, but the reason why they're doing it is because they're either too cheap or too lazy or both to make Warcraft 4.
Or too creatively bankrupt in terms of coming up with something the customer base wants.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. That would require effort. They would need to hire people who had some vision. They would need to hire people who understood what customers want. This is a cop out. It's one of the more positive announcements, but it is still a cop out.
Yeah, it's also, this is quickly becoming my catchphrase this episode, decade and a half old.
Yeah.
Or more.
Stop making us feel old.
If your best foot forward in retrospect at your opening ceremony is you're re-releasing something from 15 years ago with prettier graphics, now we can get the sledgehammers. So
the sledgehammers are coming.
So we'll start with the one that we can blitz through because I don't play Hearthstone anymore.
Okay.
So Hearthstone went down the crapper, which I desperately hoped it wouldn't because it had potential, but it did.
Yeah.
And everybody knows why it did. Card design is awful.
We saw that coming, honestly.
And so their BlizzCon announcement for Hearthstone is the most boring theming I think I've ever seen.
It's trolls.
In the Gurubashi Arena.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's all?
They bring their Loas with them, and that's it. Trolls and their Loas in the Gurubashi Arena. That's it. That's your setting for the next X-Pack.
So that's your lot for Hearthstone. For Heroes of the Storm, you get a brand new character who is a unique one for Heroes. It's a girl with a mop on her head and a wardrobe on her back. Done. Moving on.
So wait. I want to beat on this one.
Okay.
So this is the first original character
except for
Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, that is not tied to any Blizzard property or any Activision property. That is making its way as an official champion in Heroes of the Storm. They called it the first, so we're treating it like it's the first as far as the Sledgehammer is concerned. What they revealed was the butterfacedest edgelord I have ever seen for a girl. Her face is just ugly, and she's just an edgelord. That's her whole character.
It's a wardrobe with a monster in it. That's her deal.
I was cackling and laughing at her louder and louder, the edgier and edgier and more cliche lines that trailer spouted.
Yeah.
I messed up a fried chicken in Idols, dropped my combo because I was laughing so hard.
Yeah. I'd like the Raven Lord himself because he's just so cliche. But yeah, when you have a character who is supposed to counter the cliche with cliche, it doesn't work.
But what I don't understand is, I thought that Heroes of the Storm was basically a crossover platform.
Yes.
Yes.
So why are they trying to get it to be able to support?
Your guess is as good as mine. Because right now the game's biggest problem is identity, right? Nobody knows about it. Nobody cares about it. Nobody can stick an image of Heroes of the Storm in their head. So I guess they're trying to give it some character, giving it characters that aren't associated with something else. I could understand that. I still don't get it.
But the thing is that that's still playing against the concept.
Yeah, it's
because nobody will care about this new character. People only care about the other characters because they know them already.
Yeah, it goes against the original design of the game pretty hard. But while Heroes of the Storm is not anywhere close to being a failure, it's not a gangbuster. And in Activision's numbers, it's probably their worst performing game, if I had to guess from just the amount of discussion going on about it.
It only makes
by far,
it only makes a ridiculous amount of money, not an absurd amount of money.
Yeah,
does it really? It's sort of hard to say. How much money is allocated? Because they rolled it into their other totals the last earnings call that I looked at, rather than separating it out.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. It has a number greater than the 200,000 stabilization point for most multiplayer games. But what that number is, we don't know. But yeah, it is not anywhere near the gangbuster levels of Diablo or Overwatch or Hearthstone or World of Ruin or Lifecraft. So I think them trying to craft an identity for it is trying to get them to play catch up. This is a 900% guesstimate. I don't have a clue what the heck they're doing. It goes on completely against the original design document, and this always appeared to me as a side project. Heroes of the Storm never seemed like it would be a major focus for any major teams at Blizzard.
Yeah, I thought that this is where they're going to put the new guys to cut their teeth on what it's like to work at Blizzard and how to do, implement basic gaming concepts and that sort of thing. I thought that it was basically a test ground for WoW PvP or something.
What it is a blur. Its history is muddled with rumors, and Blizzard hasn't been kind enough to tell us how it actually came around, and you can't trust their videos describing development because they're lies, because they're Blizzard. So we don't really know what the history of Heroes of the Storm is. For all we know, it was born from the rumor that there was going to be a Dota battleground in WoW, and some developer thought that was a good idea. But we don't know. We don't know where Heroes of the Storm came from in reality. But it's been there, and it's been a quietly, fairly successful little, not IP is the wrong word for it, but thing.
It's got
that was inoffensive.
It's got steady.
It was it was fairly inoffensive and off to the side with really overpriced pay to win stuff or pay to get hero stuff, but every Dota clone does that now.
Yeah.
So it was just not substantial, and I thought that's all.
Loot boxes.
I have no idea.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Then that's where it's making its money.
Yeah, it does have loot boxes. It uses more or less the same system Overwatch does.
So yeah, I just this could be anything from some guy deciding he's got a great idea for a story but needs to insert his OC, to the higher ups going, we need to get this game some identity. We don't know right now, but the point is, you don't take the lampshade character, the serious lampshading character of tropes that everybody knows, and stick them next to a serious edgelord that's totally playing it straight. It doesn't work. The trailer is hilarious because it doesn't work. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch the Butterface edgelord. It's so cringy, it's funny.
All right, moving on. What was next?
We'll go. What's the other least important thing we care about? Overwatch.
Yeah, new character. It's another cowboy.
So I actually like her design a lot. I think it's a little plain and vanilla, but that's okay.
I think it's Blah and her robot is way cooler because he's
Yeah,
got a tiny
I
head.
would
Okay,
I
so
would
yes.
totally play Bob.
I was getting to Bob. Bob is the only other good thing to come out of BlizzCon besides the remake for Warcraft 3.
He has a tiny
And
hat.
his tiny head.
There's one scene in the trailer where they're having their Wild West standoff, and everybody's got a sweat drop going down their head, and Bob's just got this streak of oil in place of a sweat drop with his derpy little face and tiny hat, and it looks hilarious.
I admit
Somebody's
I got
going to
an actual
turn that
laugh
into a
out of
meme.
that, so.
It was really good. But yeah, so
You got Ash, and most importantly, Ash's ultimate seems to be Bob do something.
yes, this is why Ash gets a pass from me. Her ultimate is Bob.
Yeah, Bob just comes out and does something.
Ash has a passable aesthetic as a character, and her ultimate is Bob.
Yeah.
If the second thing was not on those two things, I would be making fun of her. But she has Bob. Now, I kind of wish Bob was a playable character, but that might actually get me to go back to
if you heard
Overwatch for
the
a few
crowd,
days.
they were going through. There were also these cool characters in this trailer. We got this guy, and we had Bob, and Bob got the loudest cheer by far.
The Twitch chat devolved in while the trailer was going because I was watching it live.
Playable Bob.
It started devolving into votes on which of the three new characters was going to be the next champion, the for realsies one, between Ash, Bob, and the AI girl.
Yeah. The AI girl's
Yeah.
coming.
Bob actually looked like he was winning from the rapidly scrolling text chat, although I think that's more what people wanted. They wanted Bob.
So, yeah, we have Bob and some cowboy chick. Excellent.
Yeah. I don't hate Ash's aesthetic. I
don't mind it.
Nothing in that. Yeah, it's inoffensive. It's another name on the roster.
Yeah, she's got some neat looking abilities.
Yeah. So yeah, but Bob is the star of the show.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that covers all the games we genuinely don't have any investment in.
Yeah. Okay, next I guess we can talk about WoW Classic. What little there is to talk about it.
The only thing that really stuck out about this to me is that they're putting sharding in, like idiots.
Why?
So
Like this is like, what can we do that will defeat the entire purpose of bringing WoW Classic out? I know. We'll split everybody up so they can't play with other people. That's exactly what people want from an MMO experience. Or at least it's exactly what they want from an MMO experience that we want to fail to vindicate our current team.
I was about to say, this reeks of setting the little side project up for failure. They can't have it succeed. It would destroy their public image, at least internally in the office. Everybody would lose morale. They can't have it succeed.
Okay, so do explain a bit more.
So, right. We've talked about the history of the WoW Classic server, and you think you do, but you don't all the time, like several times on the show, right?
Yeah.
And time again, Blizzard's been like, we know best, we know best, we know best. If the WoW Classic server was actually successful, it would show two things. It would show that A, Blizzard actually doesn't know what the heck they're doing anymore, and that the old game was better. And B, it would tank public support for any present WoW stuff going on, and inside of Blizzard.
You keep cutting out. Your internet's being dumb again.
Yeah, I'm hitting red bar. Somebody's doing stuff upstairs, probably.
Bleh.
How much of that did you get?
About half of it.
Okay, so either if WoW Classic servers did good, they are going to greatly diminish the value of any new content they add to WoW, like WoW, the main game. And B, they're going to show that the community was right and Blizzard actually doesn't know what the heck they're doing, and their public image is going to suffer and their internal morale is going to tank. Mm-hmm. They can't afford for it to succeed. There is no scenario where when WoW Classic succeeds that Blizzard comes out ahead as Blizzard the company as we know them today. They get bit in some way if WoW Classic does well.
I mean, they could come out ahead. Like, there's a way that they could come out ahead, but that way would be them eating humble pie and rolling back to some of the things that people like from WoW Classic. Once, you know, a mature fan base has plugged at it for a while and has isolated the things that are really good about it. Because WoW Classic was no unmitigated success. There's a lot of things about it that are really crap by modern standards. However, there are also things about it that you might be able to salvage and implement in the future. The only way that Blizzard comes out ahead is if they learn lessons.
But I mean,
This is Blizzard.
you know, yeah, I mean, Spider-Man isn't going to start acting like Carnage just because he feels like it. They have a pattern of behavior that they've stuck to, even when it's bit them in the butt. They don't learn. We know this over and over again.
I don't know, maybe their new corporate overlord though is disconnected enough from the ego machine that he would just mandate, no, you're doing things this way now because it's successful and the money people tell me we want that success.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Because we don't know this new guy. He's not a big Blizzard name. He's just some guy who's now the CEO.
Yeah. They've had a bit of moderate restructuring, and I mean that in the actual sense of restructuring, not layoffs. But they've had that, so we don't know what the shakeup has done. We can pretty safely say that Battle for Azeroth was a big part of it happening. But we don't know. Blizzard and Activision are really closed door lately about what goes on inside their doors. So, yeah.
All right.
But yeah, at any rate, they're basically taking a good thing and running it straight into the ground, and that's the most significant thing about it.
It always came off to me as like they're setting up a Hollywood prop model of my old house. It looks like my old house, smells like my old house, and I could go back and live there for a while.
But they're planning to drive a tank through it.
Yeah, and it's not the same. Like there'll be little differences that they didn't understand were important while they built that Hollywood prop. It's not the old home we used to live in.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though, right? Because while they are going at this project of making WoW Classic, they are going in with the mentality of you think you do, but you don't. Like they are going in working from the assumption that the changes that they make are good because they are Blizzard.
Yeah.
We shall see. We shall see. Like, there's a lot of things about Classic WoW that I do not think will hold up.
I don't know if it'll even reach release. Like, I'll believe it when I see it.
If it does and it gets any marketing push behind it, I think it's going to be worth following, even for people that didn't play WoW back in the day. This is going to be a pretty big, to show you think you do, but you don't to the world, and what shenanigans and drama behind the scenes come up because it'll fail or succeed.
Yeah, I think as an experiment, it's going to be very interesting. Like, what I would like is for the experiment to play itself out properly, so that we can see like what happens when you put a nostalgic audience back in the exact thing that they want. Like, if they really wanted to gain any data from this, then they would do exactly what people wanted, so they could find out. But that doesn't seem to be what they're after. I know that they have issues with technology, bits of code that are missing, and they can't replicate exactly, so they need to rewrite them. But putting sharding in is a decisive way of ensuring that the experience is not attempting to replicate what it once was.
So we can talk about why that's the case. I think we need to go over that for people that don't know what sharding is.
Okay, so sharding is what happens when you split off a new instance of a area server when it reaches a certain population capacity, so that the population never exceeds a certain amount. This was the new solution proposed to go in place of the old brute force solution, which was to adjust spawn rates relative to the number of people in a zone, so that people could complete quests simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
The old version of WoW did not have sharding. It used the old-fashioned method, so that meant that you could have zones that were high population and zones that were low population. And what we have currently is all zones are low population.
Yeah. It is very not nice to the. I'm trying to find good words to describe it. It doesn't help the WoW Classic image if you take away the fact that there could be somebody around the corner. Like, I think we were all playing Fern, you played WoW Vanilla before AQ came out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were all around for the big server pop boom when the guys rung the gong. We know how many people could get in a zone and how ridiculous big events like that could be.
And how
you're not going to get that on
servers would catch fire again.
You're not going to see raids on certain zones. You're not going to see people go take down the crossroads. You're not going to have the server crash because everybody's in Silithus trying to watch the guy ring the gong. Like, this is stuff
my guild, when I started playing WoW, like, its primary focus was capital city raid PvP.
Yeah.
Like, that was what we did. We raided capital cities because we knew everybody on the server was there.
Yeah, and that's going to be dead with sharding, or at least greatly diminished to a point of irrelevancy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not even just something as simple as, oh, well, this feature and that feature will be dead. It's more the fact that what people wanted was that old sense of verisimilitude, that this is a dynamic world where people come and go. If you go to an area, you would meet the people that were in that area doing things in that area. Now, if you go to an area, you have to already know the person that is there that you are looking for so that you can join the same shard that they are on deliberately in order to meet them. You can't incidentally meet somebody that you know.
Yeah, and this goes entirely against what we were hoping this experiment would be, right? We were hoping we could see what would happen with a product based purely in nostalgia that had pretty much entirely organic gameplay as its draw. It had systems, rules, dungeons, etc. But you get in the game and you running around and seeing other dudes and doing stuff with the dudes you see was part of vanilla WoW, and a big part of it. Your interactions, good or bad, with other people were a selling point, and because of the way the servers worked, there was no instancing in the world. If you were in the Eastern Kingdoms, you were there with everybody else on your server, somewhere, and you were probably going to bump into at least one dude in your trek across whatever zone you were in, even if it was low pop. Like, what's that? Where's Maradon located? That zone, the middle of nowhere. Yeah, Desolace.
Yes,
I had a brain fart. Yeah, like, you'd find people in Desolace in the double digits by the end of an hour-long play session. You won't get that experience. And this makes it so the WoW Classic they're selling you is not an authentic replication or attempted authentic replication of the core WoW experience. And this is enough to put a qualifier on any comparison made or whenever WoW Classic success or failure is brought up as a reference point, because you can just say, for either side of the argument, well, they fudged with it enough by making it sharded. Most of the experience wasn't there.
Yeah, and this change is so broad and so obvious that it's very hard for them to excuse.
Yeah,
like they can't just say, "Oh, well, our architecture can't handle it," because the reality is that the architecture they were using was old and crappy by comparison to what they've got access to now. So you can't just say that, oh, we need it because of population. No, you don't. That's bull. Yeah. I don't buy it. And I am expecting a technical excuse when they get called on this. They're going to give some excuse about the technology they have available and the base code that the net code is going to be operating on and that sort of thing. But I don't think any of it is true. That's the thing. They've been caught out in so many lies now.
I will use that dang 4-year degree in computer science networking specialization to call that BS for you right here on No Excuses every week. Anytime they do it.
Because I don't believe that they're going at this with the degree of sincerity that people had hoped that they would, because everybody was willing to accept that there were things that would have to be altered, because the way that the game works just isn't the same anymore. There's a lot of technological things that just work differently. A lot of things about targeting and that type of thing, lines of sight. A lot of that core mechanical stuff is different. And maybe we don't want Infinity Fearlock back.
Yeah, like,
there are things that perhaps even on a gameplay perspective like that we could perhaps stand to lose. But changing the core experience is not one of those things. Changing the experience of community is not one of those things. That was what people wanted back. That was the whole point.
Taking the community aspect of vanilla WoW or hurting it in any way and diminishing the organic nature of player versus player interaction in the game and how big a deal that was in defining the classic WoW experience. It kind of almost makes it so it's not at all like classic WoW. It won't play the same. I think this is a really, really big deal. This is a deal breaker. It should be for most people.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people won't understand though. I don't think, because it's such an esoteric thing. Like, a lot of people already don't understand that it was the community aspect of WoW Classic that they like. We know that a lot of people don't understand this because WildStar happened, right?
Yeah.
WildStar was what happens when you look at WoW and Classic, you know that you liked it, but you aren't sure exactly why, and then you bet the farm on something incorrect. That's WildStar. So we know people already don't understand that. The fact that you've got sharding, which changes the community dynamic, is a step more esoteric than that again. And it makes me wonder if people will even understand that this change is actually a critical hit to the concept.
Oh, I mean, we've listened to Hordak, etc., for over a decade now and done a show for over a decade. So we've had a lot of time to think about this. But yeah, I don't think anybody else is going to get it. Oh my goodness, we've been part of this community for a decade and a half.
We've been in VTW and associated for about a decade and a half. Yeah, that's been a long time.
You're just going to call this show decade and a half.
Ugh, just old.
It's been my catchphrase this show. I'm coining it.
All right,
so I can use that in context. So the big one.
Was there any, actually, just to quickly finish that off, was there any word of this whole thing going on? Was that the Classic would be a super server? Or is it still going to come involve the clusters?
There might be still stuff to come, because the WoW Q&A panel was just starting when we started the show, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't actually had time to go back through the list of other stuff.
And I'll tell you now,
there was a specific panel on creating WoW Classic and what they were doing. But like, if you guys can like keep it from dead air, I can flick through it now if you want.
We're already way over time. We can cover it next week when we do cleanup.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But I'll tell you now, Fern, if I was the head network administrator over at Blizzard right now and had to build their architecture with a product so unknown and so out there as WoW Classic, with no real testing on the population of what it could possibly be, I would be telling my marketing guys to, okay, just tell them anything and then tell them that we'll probably change it later and decide when we see the player base and how many people actually stick with the game.
Hmm.
That's what I would tell them. I would set up probably 3 to 5 servers and go from there.
Yeah.
Cull or add as needed.
We shall see.
That would be the smart thing to do, though, and Blizzard's bad at their job.
Nah. So, all right. So the last couple of little things on that is, so far the current launch date is sometime in the summer next year, and you're not going to need to pay anything else for it, which is something that I'm finding really good.
But you do have to have a WoW sub, though, right?
You do.
Yeah, but I can easily pay a WoW sub for World of Warcraft.
Yeah. So
like that's as simple as that. That they aren't, so long as they aren't so cynical as to ask for 2 subscriptions, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah. So yeah, tacking it onto an existing subs and just saying, here's a free bonus, go have fun, I can get behind that. That's great.
Yep. All right. We're way over time and we haven't even hit the big point yet.
The big stinker.
Yeah.
Jump to the big stinker.
Dun, dun.
Well, actually, no, don't jump to the big stinker. Go to the next. No, actually, yeah, jump to the big stinker.
Yeah, this is about all we got time left for. What? I'll go ahead and give you a summary without mentioning the name of what happened for those that don't know. Blizzard has done the biggest press conference-ish disaster since the Expo.
Let's be blunt. They got up on stage and they shit their pants.
The poor guy they had speaking was like, oh no. You can see him get more horrified as the announcement goes on.
They sent him out to die.
Yeah, they did.
Stop for applause, and even with their muted microphones to stop the crowd jeering, you can hear 3 guys in the back in a muffled boo.
Yeah.
No applause at any point he stops.
Normally, I think that is that is in poor taste, but I cannot fault them this time.
Yeah.
Because this is as close to a direct insult as an announcement can be, basically.
I want to before we talk about what it actually is, I want to say, while there is gameplay air quote footage, the platform it's on means that gameplay footage is 900% useless. It means nothing if we can't see actually hold the phone or the thing in our hand.
Yeah, because I know my phone can't do that. Like, my phone is no beast, but it's not a total slouch either, but it can't do that.
Yeah,
that
so
thing is going to run like Emiya's Noble Phantasm.
Yeah, it's
unlimited lag
like,
works.
Like FGO already has to bend the Unity engine over backwards to run on the number of devices it does.
Just wait till you get to Camelot. When the sandstorm starts, your device will explode.
Oh dear.
Oh, I'm playing on a big old iPad Pro, one of the more newer models by about 2 years ago. So
no,
apparently the sandstorms knew most people's devices. They've already patched it multiply in order to try and ease the burden, but my phone still groaned along. Like it was so bad that you could cook an egg on people's devices.
Yeah, and even the idle game I play on iPad it's also in a twisted mangle of the Unity engine, but it has a 2D mode if your device can't render the 3D graphics because it knows what it's asking is ridiculous for the 3D art and the 3D models doing their dance. Like, you can shift it to 2D mode so you can actually play the game. What Blizzard did now keep in mind, we're talking about Diablo. All year, they've let leaks out, they've put out rumors that have been sourced back to them as intentional leaks that something Diablo is happening. Literally,
talk about being blowballed.
Literally the whole year. It's the perfect time to announce that D4 is in development.
Let's be more direct here. They have BlizzCon only when there's a major product announcement.
Yeah. And
this is it.
We saw what? Our regularly scheduled Hearthstone expansion, a new Overwatch hero that we get 2 to 3 of a year, the WoW Classic servers we already knew about. The remaster was cool, but that's not enough to throw a BlizzCon over. Mm-hmm. They already made that game.
Well, they did that with StarCraft and didn't throw a BlizzCon for that. Yeah,
so what's their big announcement? A new Diablo game.
Yay!
On phones.
Boo!
So, this was hilarious to watch live.
Well, it's sort of hilarious, but only because you hate the person involved.
Yeah, so
it's painful to watch if you care at all.
So let's go back to that previewed conversation I had when we started this segment. They got to be joking, right? They're totally pulling our leg, says the Abo, who is kind of sort of still invested in Blizzard. No, dude, I think they're serious. No, there's no way. They're totally pulling our leg. They wouldn't do this. Oh, no.
Yeah, they did.
Did he actually say, oh, no?
Yes, he did. I'm pretty sure. Something real close to it. He doesn't like Diablo specifically, but even he knew how big of a disaster this was. They picked the absolute worst thing they could say. The next Diablo game is a mobile game.
I wouldn't...
Because that's what everybody was crying out for, right?
Look, ARPGs actually work on the mobiles. When they're not completely destroyed by microtransactions and terrible controls.
But I wouldn't even call them the same genre as an ARPG on PC or even on console. They're not the same.
An ARPG can work on a mobile format.
Yes.
However, it is directed at people that play mobile games. The Diablo fan base exists 90% on PC and 10% on console and 0% on phones.
Yeah.
And more to the point, Diablo's mechanics, as far as Diablo 1, 2, 3 Classic go, are grind heavy, consistent, constant play.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that on a phone.
Your iPad can't even do that when it's plugged into the wall.
No.
Yeah, my iPad loses 1% charge per 12 minutes or something while it's plugged in.
Yeah.
Yeah, the iPad Pro is a battery hog, but yeah,
So
it's good.
As a
Yeah,
fun little side project that they could have put out, because here's something cool to play with. I think people would have responded well to that. But after a year of hype,
But you're missing the icing on the cake.
the ice cream on the turd.
The icing on the turd cake is that Blizzard's not even making it. They're outsourcing it to a Chinese mobile developer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So you know what we're gonna get. You know all those health potions you chug in any version of Diablo because mandatory damage is kind of a thing.
Yeah, they're going to cost money now.
I'm gonna guarantee you there's loot boxes that have health potions in them.
Yeah.
Only health potions most of the time.
I'm gonna put my dollar down on that bet.
Let me see.
They are at least going to try to feed the community health potion loot boxes. I'm saying that's a good 20% possibility.
If we're really lucky, it'll get shot down at the focus group stage.
Yeah,
But judging by the sort of stuff they've tried to pull recently, I wouldn't bet on it.
They're at least going to try and that. Moreover, if they're outsourcing this to some random company that doesn't understand Diablo at all and doesn't understand its grindy nature, and they introduce an AP system,
I don't think they'll introduce an AP system as it traditionally is done, but I think they're going to try and do something like, if I'm going to be really cynical, re-implement the real money auction house.
I don't think.
I'll be surprised if there's any auction house.
Yeah, I think this will be a quick cash grab game, and they don't have at whatever studios got the rights to make this game. I forget who it is.
I'm actually trying to find it, and I can't.
They don't have the resources to run something with that many legal squiggles as Blizzard did, who were based in the U.S. and mostly selling to Western countries and China. So yeah, it's a little more screwbally when you're a subcontracted developer if you were trying to implement the real world auction house than that again. I don't think that'll quite show up.
Yeah.
It's just too much of a headache legally, especially nowadays after the loot box scandal.
Oh yeah, people will crucify it.
It's been outsourced to NetEase.
That's the one.
Okay.
It was Net something.
Yeah.
Now let's see what else these people have made. Let's see. Chinese technology company, blah blah blah.
While he's doing that, I'll give y'all some context. I'll give y'all some warnings in case you got suckered in. I know you probably didn't. I respect your intelligence, but I'm going to cover it anyway. So you're going to see a trailer that shows Diablo 3 on mobile phones, just like it looks on PC. Number one, Diablo 3 looks terrible for what it is anyway, for the year it came out. It's low polygon count, minimal animations and particle effects, with just a whole lot of lights and a whole lot of them. So that ain't hard. Number two, you don't know how this game plays. Even if you see the interface on the screen for like the point, you have no clue until you put this thing in your hand and you tap it on your personal phone.
Mm-hmm.
So do not assume anything regarding to the UI or control of this game until you have it on your device. Yeah. Nothing they show you should be taken as good or credible.
Realistically, this is something that should stand for pretty much every expo presentation. But yeah. So the icing on the turd cake was that at the question and answer session, a guy, and he's been interviewed now by TechRaptor because it was so
bad,
so brazen. He gets up, and this is the Q&A, and he's wearing a red shirt because you need to wear a red shirt if you're going to ask Blizzard something really uncomfortable.
Yes.
He gets up to the mic and he says, "Hey, just was wondering, is this an out of season April Fool's joke?" Like this is his big moment. He gets to ask Blizzard a question, and he talks about how he was trying to decide what to say when he got to the mic in the queue, but in the end, that's what he asked, and everybody cheered.
I got the video for y'all in a sec. I'll post it in live show chat.
Yeah, pop it in there.
But yeah, and to top it off, the guy was in a red shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to wear the red shirt.
If you're going to ask Blizzard something uncomfortable, you have to wear a red shirt.
Yeah.
So that was in our case. So the icing on the icing on the icing of the turd cake.
This is getting to be a very, very tall turd cake.
Is that a guy gets up and he asks a question, saying, do you have any any plans to bring Diablo Immortal to the PC, or will it always be a mobile game? And the Blizzard rep said there are no current plans to bring the game to PC, and then said, "Do you guys not have phones?" Which, if you ask me, is really freaking rude.
Yeah, that was a bit rude.
I can understand being mad, but that is downright unprofessional. Yeah, your entire crowd of fans dressed up in costume because they love your company is literally booing you, but be professional about it. Realize you made a mistake, people. And just, even if you won't admit it to yourself, don't lash out at other people. Don't be a dick.
I thought E3 was a good example of why you do not use your major stage to announce a mobile game.
Yeah.
Especially one for a much-loved franchise.
Remember our spiel about Command and Conquer?
Granted, it's not as bad. The game doesn't look as much of a offense to the property as Command and Conquer did.
Well, because it still looks vaguely like Diablo.
That's right.
Yeah.
That said, it also looks identical to every other ARPG on phones.
Yeah. But think about our reaction to Command and Conquer. And we were fairly casual, but big fans of Command and Conquer. There are more than 10 times, easily 20 times, 30 times the number of Diablo fans out there.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them are reacting the same way me and Fern did to Command and Conquer with this.
Yeah, the reality is that the guy who asked the question about whether it was an April Fool's joke, he said that he was so he was having such difficulty thinking about how he should react, because he's one of those people who spent thousands of hours in Diablo 2 and probably Diablo 3 as well. And nobody actually believed that they would get Diablo 4, but lots of people were hoping for a Diablo 2 remaster. But they're never going to do a remaster of Diablo 2, because with Diablo 3 still being a live proposition for them, it would be like the WoW Classic thing. They would have to sabotage it.
Honestly, when like I said, talking to Vol before it, and I threw out my predictions, which was, at best, it was going to be a new expansion for Diablo 3. Which would have been...
Well, I said to you it was going to be a mobile game.
Yeah, and I did not think they would go that dumb. I was expecting as the worst.
Whenever we say it's going to be a mobile game, it's always a joke, because that's the worst case scenario.
No, I meant it. I meant it 100%, because I was totally salty with Blizzard at the time, because this was around the time that they had announced the changes to Sylvanas' character to make her into a moustache-twirling idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad at least I was wrong, because last time I was right, we got Warlords of Draenor, so yeah.
I blame you for the extra year and a half of hell in WoW. If that X-Pack had never come, I would have never reconnected with dudes from old WoW servers that would have dragged me back in.
Oh, boy. Alright, I'm going to end up on something that's at least mildly optimistic. We got a new full feature animation for Battle of Azeroth. Which at least... Yeah,
but it doesn't
really say anything.
It doesn't tell you anything you don't already know. No. This was the expected story beat that literally everybody who knew anything about the way the story currently is was thinking, oh, well, this is how it's going to go next. It was utterly predictable.
Completely.
The sad reality is that the things which are not predictable in Blizzard's story now are almost exclusively things that are nonsensical.
And dumb.
And more to the point, we got a very generic story beat of that. It was well presented and very, very pretty, but that's par for Blizzard.
Yeah, that's always the way it is.
Yep.
What people are really blown away when Blizzard presents something which resembles good character writing.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
And Saurfang's a bro. Yeah, we get it. He's cool. I like Saurfang too.
My first only real big thought was because of, Saurfang now totally gets the audience. Because he basically says Sylvanas is ruining everything.
Oh,
well, this is the thing though, right? Like, Saurfang is popular with one group of people, and that group of people are the people who want WoW Classic.
Yeah.
And while it's cool to see our bro again, always remember that Azerite is a terrible system, and you should never go back to World of Warcraft.
I think we're about done then. Is there anything else you really want to talk about?
Blizzard is terrible. WoW is bad. It's bad for you. Single-player games are better. Mobile games are even better. Don't go back to WoW. It's bad for you. It ruins your life.
No, mobile games are not better.
They're remastering Medieval for PS4.
Yay! Happy childhood, happy times. There we go.
Yeah.
Happy note. We can
You know,
finish now.
from a decade and a half ago.
The Diablo 3 mobile review.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, I am lagging like a boss. I'm having to tap the mic mute button.
You missed your own meme.
I don't even know. I don't even know what you're talking about. We've moved on to talking about Medieval, and you're talking about a Diablo review.
Pickle.
Heckle.
Very cool.
All right, I need to get us out of here before my internet crashes.
Everything's on fire.
All right, email topic of the week. How sad are you for that guy and his reputation after he had to do that Diablo 3 mobile announcement?
He's going to be in the mailroom.
He just must hate his life. I feel bad for that dude. He was probably an intern or like some spokesman.
Incidentally, go read some of the hot takes about this on Twitter because they're hilarious.
Yeah.
They are quite funny. But yes. That's email topic of the week is BlizzCon. All right. We'll see y'all next week, folks. Sayonara. Bye-bye.